Post-Apocalyptic Black Technology System. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Block Bullets with Bare Hands? In the Ice City Bank, the light was dim, and the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder, but the atmosphere seemed tense. A dozen soldiers led by Yikijin were confronting another group of people with their guns raised. They were a group of young people, wearing all kinds of clothes and hair colors, but each of them was holding a gun that he didn't know where to get, everything from pistols to rifles, and confronted the military without any compromise. Among this group of young people, the leader was a young man with a short cut in a leather jacket. He was carrying a 92 style, which almost hit Yikijin's face. The supplies now belong to us. If you want to touch our things, there is no way. If you want to, you will fight with us, and whoever loves it will belong to the grandson. Yikijin suppressed his anger, and said, thousands of black beetles and migratory locusts are just 2 streets away, and they can be killed here in less than 5 minutes. We will all die by then. Give me the ammunition, and I can guarantee you all, safe. Hehehe. Hearing Yikijin's words, the young man in the leather jacket with a cropped cut laughed maniacally. Brother soldier, are you out of your mind? The black beetle is here, you are the only ones who will die. Stand up for me. Since you are soldiers, you have the right to protect our common people. When the black beetle comes, you take yours and stand up for us outside. You go die, let's go soak. This way, the supplies here will not be wasted. What do you think? As soon as the young man's words fell, the other young people behind him also laughed and echoed each other. Yes, that's right. What are you soldiers doing to us? Go deal with the black beetle. Anyway, you are going to die. It is the right solution to leave this batch of equipment to us. What's the matter? Do you still want to open fire on us ordinary people? Yikijin rubbed his index finger back and forth on the trigger, and hissed, brother, we are all human beings. If you have something to say, I can give you all the rifles and pistols here, but you have 125mm high explosive bombs. And armor-piercing bullets are useless. Give me these things and we can all live. Hearing this, a punk woman with smoky makeup, big earrings and high boots sneered, if you want me to say, you guys are all dead-headed soldiers, just like those idiots who stayed here before. Same, I don't know where my brain is going. In my opinion, it's pure waste for you to hold these equipment, leaving it to those of us who know how to adapt it is the hope of the future. Yikijin had actually noticed a long time ago that there were several corpses of armed policemen lying across the bank, obviously the guards here, who were touched and killed by these survivors. To be honest, at this moment, Yikijin really wanted to shoot all of these people, but there is a room full of ammunition here, and our military personnel are sure to fire, but this group of young people is a group of things that don't know what to be afraid of. As long as one of them is not handled properly and detonates the ammunition and explosives in this room, it will be over. Yikijin had to take the survivors out of the Ice City, no matter what. He couldn't bear the consequences, and the young man with an inch cut laughed and said, okay, I won't talk nonsense with you. I don't care whether you live or die, and in this day and age, don't talk to me about military and civilian use. What I found is mine. If you have something to say, talk about it. I have nothing to say to you, a fool like you. Xia, take your things, we will retreat through the back door. The Xia with the big earrings and high boots laughed. Yeah, brother Bing, you guys have to hang on a little longer. Yikijin's face was cold, and he couldn't help but want to fire, but at this moment, outside the Bingchang Bank, there was a sudden commotion and voices. Immediately afterwards, the crowd parted, and Yikijin saw Su Ran and Li Yilin walking in from outside one after the other. Seeing Su Ran, Yikijin even showed a glimmer of happiness on his cold face. Yikijin was really happy that Su Ran survived. Such an amazing person shouldn't just die like that. The soldiers brought in by Yikijin were also very excited when they saw Su Ran. Many of them learned from Yikijin that Su Ran might not have come from the military system. In such a situation, Su Ran just never left, and even opened a bloody path for them, which won the respect of these fighters. Li Shunchang even patted Su Ran on the shoulder and said, great, Su Ran, you're back. Great. Su Ran nodded at him and Yikijin, and went directly to the front, taking a look at the tense situation. As a veteran who has been in the end of the world for 3 years, he immediately understood what the situation was. This is the kind of scum that is selfish and makes money for the country. Su Ran was in the sizing field, and the young man with that short cut was also sizing up Su Ran. What's the matter? This is your leader? He came to negotiate, and he brought a little girl with him? Are you kidding me? I advise you to save yourself. Province, Su-Ran pulled Yukijin behind him with one hand. Facing the provocation of the inch-cropped young man, he was surprisingly silent, and walked straight away, as if he hadn't seen the 92 style in the inch-cropped young man's hand, step by step. The young man walked on the face. Seeing this, Yukijin was startled and reminded, Su-Ran, be careful. As if Su-Ran didn't hear it, she walked forward with the young man's gun in her hand. The inch-cut young man was also taken aback, and took 2 steps back. Seeing that Su-Ran was pressing forward again, the inch-crop young man came up fiercely. He hissed and scolded, where's the idiot coming from? Louds out, he will kill you. If it was placed before the end of the world, he would never dare to shoot, but now, he dared to kill even the armed police, so why not? The cropped young man pulled the trigger almost at the same moment. Su-Ran also moved. At the very moment, he raised his right hand and grabbed the muzzle of the Type 92 pistol in the young man's hand with his entire right palm. The young man fired 3 shots in an instant, and all 3 shots hit Su-Ran's right palm. However, a horrifying scene appeared for the short-haired young man. After 3 shots, Su-Ran's hand wrapped in strange armor didn't move at all, let alone a hair. Immediately afterwards, there was a crackling sound in the field. It was Su-Ran who directly crushed the 92 style. The short-haired young man raised his head in disbelief. His eyes were about to pop out of their sockets, and he looked at Su-Ran in front of him with an expression like looking at a monster. His brain shut down. What about you? What about you? Seeing this scene, not only the young man with the cut hair was shocked, but also, Yukijin didn't expect Su-Ran to rush up and block the 3 bullets with his bare hands. Nima? What is this operation? Chapter 52 Disposal. Su-Ran blocked the bullet with his bare hands. Although it was surprising, many people saw something from it. These soldiers are all knowledgeable. Yukijin noticed that Su-Ran was carrying something on his hand. Looking at Su-Ran's attire, he already guessed, the one who blocked the bullet was not Su-Ran's flesh and blood, it should be the clothes on his body. It seems to be some kind of defensive armor, but it fits extremely lightly. This kind of battle armor is a conceptual thing. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is black technology. Where did Su-Ran come from? Maybe it's not surprising, but Yukijin is not so surprised. Anyway, Su-Ran has a lot of weird black technology, and now is not the time to be entangled in these. But at this moment, the young man's face turned pale. He and his companions behind him all showed surprise. Before they could react, the soldiers over there seized the opportunity and rushed forward, suppressing them all, and began to quickly collect the supplies in the Ice City Bank. The subordinates of the inch-cut young man seemed a little unwilling, and that Xia Bai even wanted to get violent. And at this moment, Li Yilin was walking in front of her. The cold air was overflowing. Half of the woman's body was wrapped in ice. Looking at this scene, the inch-cut young man couldn't help but swallowed. This damn, there is actually an awakened person. At this moment, the young man was completely discouraged. All the arrogance just now disappeared, and his face turned blue. He's not a fool either. His side has been completely controlled by the military. If he finds fault again, he'll be courting death. The young man with an inch cut said, don't do it. Don't do it. I was joking just now, and this big brother, don't do it either. We will cooperate with you. We will do whatever you tell us to do. Just don't do it, don't kill it. We can do anything. Seeing this, Yukijin gave a cold snort, and said in displeasure, everyone squats down, puts their hands on their heads, and anyone who makes any abnormal movements will be shot immediately. With that said, these soldiers all raised their guns and loaded their guns. Their eyes were cold at this moment. These young people who just relied on their background as ordinary people and thought that the military would not fight with them finally changed their faces completely. Even that Xia Bai showed a panicked expression, and no one dared to do it again. They crouched behind each other with their heads in their hands. There was a 15 or 16-year-old young man who was finally frightened at this moment. He held his head and shouted, don't shoot. It has nothing to do with me. They ordered me. I'm not yet an adult. Yukijin looked coldly and said, don't worry, I won't shoot at the same kind easily, but I won't protect you either. Li Shenzhen confiscated their weapons, confiscated their vehicles, and drove them out to the street. Get close to our convoy, let alone get into any of our cars. Hearing this, the young man's face changed drastically, and he said, the monster is about to kill us. You took away our guns, confiscated our motorcycles, and drove us out. We must die? You can't do this, not like this. Yukijin didn't say another word, and let his soldiers drag all these young people out with a wave of his hand. These young people no longer had the arrogance they had before, and howled and begged for mercy one after another. As if it was only at this moment that they remembered that they were both human beings should take care of each other at the last moment, Yukijin said, "Since you have the ability to fight in the nest, I believe you can also survive the insect swarm. In fact, if Yukijin and the others come one step at night, Su-ran may be about to shoot." In his opinion, this group of people are pure bastards, scum born in the last days. Is more fierce than anyone else. Moreover, what a heavy price these soldiers have paid for this city. What qualifications do they have to clamor with these soldiers? However, since the military has already controlled the situation, Su-ran will not step in and let the military take over the situation. He could see that Yukijin was also very angry, but Yukijin was a soldier, and there was a line in his heart that would never be crossed. After all, the insect swarm could come at any time, and Su-ran himself was also the primary target of the insect nest, and no one wanted to waste too much time on such trivial matters. There was a delay here, so Yukijin wanted to speed up his pace. He and Su-ran had the same idea. When the Black Beetle came here, use the explosives and ammunition here to blow up the vanguard of the Black Beetle, stop the advance of the Black Beetle, and let them, when you have time, retreat to a safe area and completely avoid the large army of Black Beetles. Arranging explosives here to meet the Black Beetles is handed over to a relatively professional military. In fact, Su-ran can also arrange explosives. Although he doesn't know much about it, he has a system and a dark energy armor to provide him with mobility, so it's not a problem. But Yukijin still took over this dangerous job in a big way, and led the soldiers to the top, while Li Shunchang was responsible for gathering the survivors and redistributing vehicles and manpower. Yukijin actually has a lot of things to say and many questions he wants to talk to Su-ran, such as his real background, the origin of his various black technology equipment, etc., but Yukijin doesn't have the time and opportunity. Finding a way out is the top priority. Everyone got busy, and Su-ran found that she was the only idler. Su-ran found a seat in the corner and sat down, checking the condition of the dark energy armor. During the whole process just now, the dark energy armor on his body was activated. After this journey, the power of this dark energy armor is undoubtedly revealed. Patting the battle armor on his body, Su-ran couldn't help but thought, this thing is really a treasure. I will buy 7 or 8 sets later, one for each person. Of course, it was obvious that Su-ran was just thinking about it. His Nightingale aircraft just crashed, and he still had resources to build an inland destroyer. He really didn't have the spare money to build extra dark energy armor. Su-ran glanced at Yukijin, who was busy in front of her, and then glanced at the other side surrounded by a group of survivors, who seemed to be very popular, and thought, when I get back to safety, I have to fool around and go with me to blow up the insect nest in the Ice City. Yukijin sneezed suddenly, looked left and right. Who cursed me to sneeze? At this time, Su-ran's eyes were already turned away. He took out a handful of lollipops and beef jerky from his arms, and handed them to the little girl sitting beside him. The girl raised her head and gave him a blank look. Su-ran asked, "Girl, what's your name?" The girl was hid a bit hard, and her expression was a little dazed. Facing such a question, she seemed to realize what Su-ran was asking after reacting for a while, and said in a low voice, "Xinyu." Chapter 53 Calling. Xinyu. Su-ranian nodded slightly, and stuffed the beef jerky and lollipops into Xinyu's arms without saying anything. Separation between life and death in the last days is too common. Girls must learn to face and adjust themselves in order to go further and longer in this era of catastrophe. This is something no one can help her with. The military's deployment was completed quickly, and in just a few minutes, the Black Beetle swarm had once again appeared in the direction of the street intersection. Sweeping along the street like a black tide, the military began to retreat in batches. Li Shunchang divided the survivors into several groups and retreated from several directions behind the Bingchang Bank on Lingsing Street. Li Yilan came to Su-ran heroically and said, "Su-ran, Lieutenant Li asked you and me to take a group of survivors to evacuate. The military is short of manpower, of course. Although the military didn't arrange any people for us, but for us we have a military off-roader, right up front." Su-ran nodded. He glanced at Li Yilan's hair, and found that the girl's hair was tied up again, into a simple ponytail. It was a coincidence that Li Yilan also noticed Su-ran's gaze, and the two looked at each other, remembering the embarrassment just now, and the atmosphere suddenly fell into embarrassment again. It was Xinyu who came forward at this time and handed Li Yilan her lollipop to resolve the embarrassment. "Thank you for the lollipop. Is this your spoil in the last days?" Li Yilin took Xin Yu's hand and led Su Ran forwards. Xin Yu replied, "No, brother." Su Ran gave it to me. Li Yilin was still taken aback when she heard the words. She couldn't help but secretly glance at Su Ran, a little surprised in her heart. Such a person, in the end of the world, still carries a lollipop with him. Li Yilin just laughed, and said without words, "Mr. Su, you really have a childlike innocence." However, after these words came out, the atmosphere between the two of them went round and round, returning to the initial embarrassment. The reason why he took so many lollipops was because he had storage space, so he took some of everything. Of course, Su Ran couldn't explain the reason at this time. The fleeing convoy took action again. The military here plus the survivors, there are a total of 300 or 400 people. At this time, they are all broken up into 11 groups and evacuated along the street. Each group has a short-distance communication device distributed by Yukijin to maintain contact and prepare to meet up after finding a place to stay or a safe way out of the city. Divided into 11 groups, there are not enough military personnel to distribute, so Su Ran and Li Yilin, the two big guys among the survivors, can only lead a group of survivors alone. It is worth mentioning that the survivors in Su Ran's group heard that Su Ran and Li Yilin were leading the team, and they were all as happy as anything. Even more excited than hearing that the military was protecting them. Moreover, for this evacuation, Yukijin abandoned the remaining heavy armored vehicles and tanks in their hands. Not big, but many soldiers were reluctant to part with these big guys. The tank soldier named Liu Guoqing even cried, treating the tank as his own brother, and was dragged away by several soldiers with snot and tears. The entire convoy marched again, and the military suffered heavy losses. There was only one heavy armored vehicle left. Dragged down, the convoy withdrew a certain distance, and Yukijin seized the right time to remotely detonate the explosives they placed in Linxing Street and the Bank of Bingcheng. The swarms of insects were all submerged in the sea of flames that soared into the sky. The flames sweeping through Linxing Street will kill a group of black beetles. Temporarily blocking the advance of the black beetle swarm gave Su Ran and the others a chance to completely shake off the black beetle swarm and gain a chance to breathe. Xin Yu leaned on the rear window and looked outside. His dark pupils reflected the flames, making them extraordinarily bright. Su Ran stared at the sea of flames, and murmured, "It would be great if we could go back and let me walk around the dead insect corpses." Su Ran is reluctant to part with those resource points, but he also knows that this is impossible. The number of black beetle swarms is huge. If he really goes back and walks around, he may not be able to come back. Although the dark energy armor is strong, but if he was surrounded by hundreds or thousands of black beetles, he would never be able to retreat with only a dark energy armor. Su Ran sighed, "It's really hard for me." At this time, in another group of convoys, Yukijin was calling the communication device over and over again. "This is Yukijin, the company commander of the 973rd Brigade Armored Battalion, and I am now reporting the situation of our department. A large number of black beetles are now out of danger, and I am leading my troops along the direction of Linxing Street from the east." Yukijin, the company commander of the 793rd Armored Battalion, called Xiao Zeru, the commander of the 793rd Brigade Armored Brigade, called the combat command vehicle of the 1st Battalion of the 793rd Brigade, called the temporary headquarters of the 795th Brigade in Ice City, called the temporary 3rd Mixed Battalion, call Xi'an Mansion Temporary Survivor Base, call the troops stationed along the Xinbing Expressway in Dongcheng District, call the Longjiang Military Command to fight against Bingcheng, call. In the channel, there was silence. Yukijin kept calling, but didn't get any response. He shook the car radio in his car to the civilian frequency band, and there was also a busy tone. Finally, Li Shunchang stretched out his hand from the side, pressed the walkie-talkie in Yukijin's hand, and said, "Company commander, don't shout, maybe your signal is broken, and you know that the signal in the city is not good. The situation, we are not bad. Other fraternal troops may not be able to keep their communication equipment long ago." Yukijin glanced at Li Shuncheng, shook his head, and said, "I know that the situation in Bingcheng is not good now, and our brothers' troops should still be fighting, but there are more than 10 million people in Bingcheng, and they will die if they die. Yes, those who have been evacuated before, now there are at least 2 million people in this city. Our radio is silent. How are they going to survive? This time the signal is really bad. Now there are 9 insect nests of various sizes in the Longjiang area alone, and there are wars everywhere, and no one can do anything." Li Shunchang sighed, "Global catastrophe, we can only take one step at a time." Yukijin remained silent, but at this moment, he suddenly remembered the crazy plan that Su Ran told him earlier. Chapter 54 Shipbuilding begins. Su Ran was driving, Leading a small convoy of more than 30 people, driving on the messy streets, Li Yilin was sitting on the co-pilot's seat. She didn't know why. She seemed a little reserved. She didn't dare to look towards Su Ran. She kept looking at the street scene outside the window. In just half a month, Bingchang seemed to have been baptized by the boundless flames of war, and every corner of the city streets showed signs of dilapidation. However, fortunately, after getting rid of the swarm of black beetles, he did not encounter a single black beetle again. Only locusts whizzed past in the sky occasionally, and Su Ran was also very experienced in hiding the convoy ahead of time. Not found by the migratory locust swarm. Thinking of this level, Li Yilin couldn't help turning her head, glanced at Su Ran beside her, and couldn't help asking, "Su Ran, are you really not in the army?" To be honest, Su Ran didn't notice that this woman was thinking wildly beside her. He is giving orders to the system right now. Dear host, the planetary sky destroyer has entered the production sequence. Estimated production time: 56 hours. The scale of this destroyer is not comparable to that of the Nightingale aircraft, and the production time is much longer than that of the Nightingale aircraft, which is understandable. Listening to the cold system prompt, Su Ran was thinking about the magnificent picture of his own destroyer rising into the sky. He was dreaming, and didn't pay much attention to what Li Yilin said beside him. However, just building a destroyer is not considered a success. He still needs a batch of resource points to build corresponding fuel and weapons, but now the situation has changed. The military has completely lost control of the ice city. Sweeping the whole city is gaining momentum, and when the general situation is reversed, everyone's situation will become more difficult, and the whole city is in danger everywhere, let alone killing insects. This is the last stage for those alien Zergs to dominate the ice city. In this stage, there will be no more scattered monsters that move at will. Survivors were besieged throughout the city, endlessly. The predicament that Su Ran and the others fell into just now is being staged in various places in the city. Once a large group of human beings are found in motion, the black beetle swarms will swarm to move, coordinating with the locust swarm in the sky and the people moving under the ground. The earth-digging insects and the earth-moving snakes, in the sky and on the ground, surrounded and suppressed human beings, forming a situation of true lore. After annihilating a large fleeing team tonight, the target of the hive will hunt and kill the survivors who are hiding in every corner of the city. With the army retreating, this human city has almost completely fallen. In this case, if Su Ran hunted down a black beetle again, the situation would be very different from the ease before. A little carelessness might disturb a large number of insect nests. Most importantly, Su Ran is still the thorn in the side of the insect nest. He was thinking about these things in his heart. Li Yilin had been talking for a long time before Su Ran noticed that the awakened girl beside him was looking at him with big bright eyes. Su Ran thought for a while, and replied ambiguously, "Where do you think I am from?" "I am from there," Su Ran said, very knowledgeable in this sentence, which seems to have answered Li Yilin's question, but in fact she didn't say anything substantive. It's no different from farting, and this kind of nonsense can still be heard by everyone. The kind that comes out saying that he is not from the military. It is difficult to explain where his black technology equipment comes from. Saying that he is from the military, Su Ran is still a little embarrassed. Fortunately, Li Yilin didn't seem to care about Su Ran running the train with her mouth full of words. She just nodded in embarrassment. Oh, she was obviously too embarrassed to ask further. The atmosphere between the two of them was a little awkward. Su Ran didn't quite know what the situation was, and she was a little puzzled. Although he was not a well-rounded social expert, but when getting along with others, there's rarely such a weird atmosphere. "You are embarrassed." "And I am embarrassed." Su Ran opened her mouth, wanting to say something, but at this moment, there was a huge sound of flapping wings in the sky. Su Ran immediately led the team into a corner, turned off the engine and waited. A sky watcher whizzed past their heads, and that huge body left a huge shadow on the ground. At this time, it was already past 1 o'clock in the morning, and the night was getting dark, but the ice city was brightly lit, with fire everywhere, and the running and howling of monsters everywhere. Shouts, mixed with gunshots one after another, echoed in every corner of the city. In this huge modern city, there are at least 1 million people scattered in every corner of the city, but most of them are ordinary survivors. If zombies are rampant on the streets at this moment, these survivors rely on I might still be able to find a way to survive, but these black beetles are difficult for soldiers to deal with, let alone these ordinary survivors, and now, the military's strength has shrunk, and the frontal battlefield has been defeated. There are not many remaining combat forces in the ice city. As far as Su Ran knows, there are at least 5 more functional buildings in the Longjiang area outside the ice city. Different worm nests restrain the battlefield in the entire Longjiang area, making it difficult for the desperate Ice City to find reinforcements. The Sky Witcher flew across the sky, and the convoy was silent. Su Ran sat in the car and looked up at the giant dragon-like creature passing by the skyline. Her eyes were extremely cold. Although his Nightingale aircraft had just crashed, Su Ran's thoughts had not changed. He wanted to destroy the insect nest in the northern city. There is no end to retreat. Even if you want to withdraw, you have to make the Ice City worm nest pay the price, and you have to earn a fortune of resource points here. In the silence, Li Yilin thought for a while, and asked out of words, "Well, Mr. Su," Su Ran said. "Don't call me Mr. Su, why are you so embarrassed?" Li Yilin was also a little embarrassed. After thinking about it, she said, "Su Ran, do you have a plan? Where are we going now?" Li Yilin was looking for something to say, so she asked casually. After all, in this situation, it is impossible for anyone to know where it is safe. According to Li Yilin's thinking, when she asked such a question, Su Ran should also be at a loss. Let's analyze it together. It's also good to get closer and get rid of the inexplicable embarrassment from the beginning to the present. But Li Yilin really asked the wrong question. As a reborn person, Su Ran dares to say that he is the most planned person in his own city. Su Ran nodded and said directly, "Don't even think about going out of the city. We living people are free resources for the insect nest to build war insects. They will never let us go. The periphery of the Ice City should have been besieged to death. I do know a place, but I don't know if it's safe now." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Survivor and number 039, Careful Thoughts. N. Li Yilin nodded, thought for a long time, and then added, "Oh." Her expression was a little weird, and her tone was a little twitchy regarding this. Su Ran was a little puzzled by Monk Zanger. He has so many things, how can he have time to think about the girl's mind? Therefore, Su Ran didn't realize that Li Yilin was looking for something to talk about, and she thought that this girl was uneasy, so Su Ran said this to give her a reassurance. After all, Li Yilin is also an awakened person and is an important member of the current team. One of the battle strengths. If she panicked, wouldn't everyone else panic? But what Su Ran didn't expect was that after he said that, why did Li Yilin look bad? Is it because I heard that there is no way to escape the Ice City in a short time? Su Ran thought for a while, and then said in relief, "It's okay. Although the current Ice City is extremely dangerous, there are also a large number of alien bugs outside, and it is in the desert. Once you are targeted by monsters, it is difficult to get rid of them, and this is a provincial capital city with abundant supplies. But if you really go outside, if you are in a predicament, you will really have no way to go to heaven and no way to go to earth." What Su Ran said was the truth, and it was his own experience as someone who has experienced the end of the world. He fully understands Li Yilin's flustered state of mind at this moment. Of course, Su Ran probably never knew what Li Yilin was thinking when she was sitting next to her, but what he said effectively eased the deadly embarrassing atmosphere. Li Yilin turned her head and smiled slightly under the light of the fire on the street outside. She suddenly felt that this guy was not only fierce and powerful, but also it's more cute and safe. Li Yilin belongs to the good-looking type, and her skin is very fair, without light makeup. When she smiles at this time, her eyes are as bright as stars, and her face is red and beautiful when reflected by the fire in the distance. Li Yilin thought for a while, and then said casually, "I said, Su Ran, how do you know so much? You can't be a reborn person, right? Or a mysterious person in the agency? Hey, why are you so nervous all of a sudden? I'm just joking." Su Ran coughed dryly, laughed awkwardly, and said, "Okay, the Sky Witcher has passed, let's go quickly. Here, I'll give you a piece of beef jerky." The convoy moved again. Su Ran's destination was a hypermarket in the suburbs. The hypermarket was newly built here. In the previous life, Su Ran fled there at the end of July and the beginning of August, and was surprised to find that it turned out to be a treasure land. Except for the scattered survivors, there were hardly any monsters there. Later, Su Ran found out that in the early days of the end of the world, the hypermarket had been raided by survivors and black beetle swarms. In addition, the hypermarket was located far away from the city entrance, so few survivors would go there. Even the black beetles will not patronize it. It is a blind spot-like safety zone that is rare in the Ice City. But now it's the beginning of July, and I don't know what's going on there, so Su-Ran plans to go over there first to have a look, and if he can settle down, it won't be too late to call Yukijin and the others over. Moreover, the reason for choosing this place is also because this hypermarket is not far from Linxing Street. Su-Ran has been heading in this direction since just starting from Linxing Street at this time. After chatting awkwardly with Li Yilin all the way, the 5-story hypermarket standing in the city finally appeared in sight. That hypermarket was newly built before the end of the world, but now it is also full of scars. The outer walls are burnt black and severely damaged. The glass on the first and second floors is almost completely broken. It was one that didn't. Apparently all of them had been recycled into the nest by the black beetles. Seeing this scene, Su-Ran's eyes narrowed slightly, showing excitement because the appearance of the hypermarket now is the same as when he came here in the memory of his last life, which is the state after being swept away by the black beetle that said, "It's safe here." Su-Ran had never been here before the apocalypse, but after the apocalypse, she had a thorough understanding of this hypermarket. The second basement is a parking lot, the basement is a big supermarket, the upper floor are furniture, clothing, baby products, etc., and the top floor is a restaurant and movie theater. Therefore, Su-Ran came up and drove the car with ease, ready to drive the car parked in the underground parking garage. But to Su-Ran's surprise, the location of the underground garage was pulled out by a roadblock and blocked directly. This is. Li Yilin frowned. Su-Ran came to this life more than half a month earlier than the previous life. Su-Ran really doesn't know what's going on here, but it's not hard to see from this roadblock that there are obviously another group of survivors here. As soon as Su-Ran had this idea, 7 or 8 figures slowly came out from the garage in front and the first floor of the hypermarket outside, some with baseball bats in their hands, and some with guns, slowly walking out. Gathering up from both sides, a middle-aged man in his 30s was the first to meet him with a rifle. He glanced at Su-Ran and Li Yilin, who were sitting in the military vehicle, frowned and said, "It's not soldiers, it's survivor." Li Yilin pushed open the door and walked down, saying, "That's right, we are survivors. Can the roadblock be removed?" "We want to go in." The middle-aged man looked Li Yilin up and down, then shook his head, and said expressionlessly, "This is our territory, can you enter it if you want?" Li Yilin said, "They are all human beings, they are all fleeing for their lives, why should this place be yours?" The middle-aged man said, "I didn't say I won't let you in. We're all human beings, and it's right to help each other. But this is the territory of the awakened ones. The survivors who come in will be protected by the awakened ones. You can come in if you want, hand over all your supplies, and hand them over to us for overall planning and management, and we are willing to provide you with protection. Do you have the nerve to let the awakened ones protect your safety for free?" The middle-aged man seemed to be reasoning, but at this point, he lifted the rifle in his hand and said, "In this situation, if you don't stay with us and go out, I'm afraid you won't know how to die." The last half of this sentence is pure threat. If you don't hand over something when you come, don't leave. Well, the middle-aged man's face is still expressionless. He has just looked at this group of people all over the place. They are all a group of panic-stricken survivors. Although they drove a military vehicle, Li Yilin, who was clearly the leader, was sitting in the military vehicle. Not to mention a delicate woman, she didn't even have a gun on her body, let alone the young man in the car who didn't dare to get out of the car. This kind of survivor team, this middle-aged man has seen a lot. He picked up a military vehicle from somewhere, escaped by chance, and has no survivability at all, but he may have been sheltered by the military before, and most of them have bad luck. Less supplies. This is the lamb brought to your mouth. Now that the ice city is full of bugs, the danger of searching for supplies by yourself has greatly increased. The hypermarket was almost plundered by the first batch of survivors, and then it was ruined by black beetles. Once again, there is nothing available. In this case, extorting resources from such a survivor team with little combat effectiveness is the safest and most secure way to obtain resources. Chapter 56. I give you 2 choices. Humans have always had such a talent. I can't beat the beast, but I just need to outrun my companions. It's the same now. The survivors entrenched in this hypermarket obviously have the same idea. I can't fight those alien Zerg, and I don't have the guts to make a living in a city full of dangers, so I just stay here and wait for work. Wait for the exhausted ordinary survivors to come to your door, and then directly kill them all, turning the other party into yourself. And you don't need to beat any alien Zerg, as long as you beat the same kind is enough. Li Yilin frowned, and was about to say something. Out of the corner of her eyes, Su-Ran could even see that the girl was holding the frame of the car, and there were even strands of cold air coming out. But at this moment, a cold voice suddenly came from behind. "What's wrong?" Accompanied by this voice, a young man slowly walked out from behind the survivor who blocked the way, in the direction of the underground garage. The young man was probably in his 20s. He was still dressed very stylishly in the apocalyptic environment. He walked out of the dark underground garage, wearing a pair of sunglasses, but he was indeed quite handsome. He was a very handsome guy. This man is not very old, but he seems to be the leader of this group of survivors. As soon as he walked out, the middle-aged man in front just lowered his head, walked over actively, and whispered in the young man's ear, said something aloud. But at this time, the young man nodded, glanced at Su-Ran and the others, and took off the sunglasses on his face, revealing a more handsome face underneath. Looking at this face, Su-Ran felt a little familiar, as if he had seen it somewhere before, but recalling all the things in the previous life, it seemed that he had never met such a number one person in the last days. Li Yilin, on the other hand, saw her eyes widened in surprise, and said, "You are that Chenru." Hearing the name Chenru, Su-Ran came to his senses. This person was not someone he knew in the last life. This is an 18th line male starred before the end. This guy has also had a lot of scenes with some big actors in the past 2 years. Just when he was about to rise up, he met the end of the world, but because of this, even Su-Ran had a little impression of this handsome face. Li Yilin simply became a little excited. Her thinking circuit really made Su-Ran a little hard to understand. Just now she was at war with this group of people, but when she saw a handsome star, she immediately changed her mood. Chenru only smiled, and said in a very flat and contagious tone, "Yes, I am that Chenru, and I am also the survivor who is protecting this hypermarket now. I heard about the situation just now. I know that you don't want to take out your life-saving supplies, but what I want you to know is that I am also using my life to ensure your safety. I want you to hand in the supplies, not to occupy your resources, but to uniform distribution, using the most reasonable way to ensure everyone's safety." Hearing these words, Su-Ran frowned. This Chenru spoke nicely and was handsome, but what he said was not good. Black beetles can't even see this place, so does he need to protect it desperately? And now at this time, most of the awakened people's control over dark energy is very weak. The awakened people at this stage can deal with some slaughter as well, and even if there is only one black beetle, they can basically fight against a black beetle without heavy firepower. How can you protect other people if you only have to escape for your life? In this regard, Li Yilin is a vivid and typical case. She is powerful and can freeze the black beetle in a short time, but she cannot kill the black beetle at all. In the current stage of the end times, it will play the greatest role during this period. Only a very small number of the most powerful awakened ones can take down the black beetle and even protect the safety of the survivors in one place. Unfortunately, as far as Su-Ran knew, there was no such lucky person in Bingcheng. But hearing what Chenru said, Su-Ran immediately jumped out of the driver's seat. Just now he was in contact with Yakijin and the others to tell them to evacuate this way, so he didn't come down, but he saw Li Yilin saw Chenru. The exposed nympho eyes made him feel a little guilty, so he hurried down in Su-Ran's heart. Although Li Yilin is an awakened person, she is just an ordinary survivor in this cataclysmic end of the world. She has not really grown up yet, and maybe she was really fooled by the celebrity little fresh meat. However, it turns out that Su-Ran was overthinking. Just as Su-Ran got out of the car, Li Yilin was already vigilant. "Well, since this is the case, we don't need you to protect us. If black beetles really come up, you don't care about our life or death, and we don't need to hand over our supplies. Here you go. Is that okay?" Chenru just laughed softly when he heard the words. "How can this be done? You are all here, how can I leave you alone? And in my opinion, your convoy is in such a mess, you don't have much supplies, right? Little sister, you don't think I want to monopolize your resources, do you?" "Who is your little sister?" Although Li Yilin was infatuated for a while, she was calm in her heart. Between these few words, she could tell that Chenru was a gentle scum, regardless of his appearance. He is clean and handsome, and speaks nicely, but he is an extremely selfish person in his bones. But at this time, Su-Ran suddenly said, "Is this place owned by your family? If you don't pay the protection fee, you won't be allowed to enter? Chenru, right? I'll give you two choices now. First, get out of this place way, and second, either I get out of this way." Hearing Su-Ran's words, Chenru was stunned for a moment, but then laughed out loud. "This, brother, did I hear what you are talking about right? Or, do you know what you are talking about? Is it?" The two options you mentioned are exactly the same options. Did you say something wrong, or did you have some kind of eschatological syndrome that caused you to have cognitive dysfunction? You couldn't even speak clearly? I think you'd better not talk to me." As soon as Chenru said this, the survivors around him all burst into laughter, but Su Ran just shrugged his shoulders, strode forward, and stood directly in front of Chenru. Seeing this, Chenru laughed even more, and said, "What are you doing standing so close? Do you want to make a move? Let me advise you, my ability is physical strengthening, and my strength and physical strength are far beyond ordinary people. It's not your perception. Obstacles can." Chenru couldn't finish this sentence, because at this moment, Su Ran swung his fist like lightning, and directly hit this handsome guy in the face, and put away what he hadn't finished and everything he wanted to say next. Called back all the words. Chapter 57 Yukijin and number 039, S Helplessness. Su Ran's punch was equipped with a dark energy armor, and the power was extraordinary. You know, he can hit a black beetle head-on, let alone this mere awakened person. In fact, Chenru didn't even see how Su Ran did it, but a burst of piercing pain came. He howled, took a step back, and roared, "You bastard, I'll kill you." At this moment, the calmness and elegance on this handsome guy's face disappeared, and he howled like a mad lion. But regarding this, Su Ran didn't say a word, and immediately followed by a second punch, which directly hit this guy in the face. The physical strengthening and awakening that Chenru said was not fake. He knew how strong Su Ran was just now. He had the confidence to yell at himself, so Su Ran added some strength, and the second punch hit Chenru's face again. The history is strikingly similar. Chenru, who is armed with force, still failed to see clearly how Su Ran did it, so he got the second punch. In this world, no matter how evolved you are, you may not be as powerful as a piece of equipment from others. This time, Chenru Hang didn't even groan, and was directly knocked to the ground by Su Ran's punch. His eyes turned white, his nose was crooked, blood was flowing, and Su Ran passed out on the spot. Looking at this scene, Li Yilin couldn't help but slam her mouth, but Su Ran gave this guy a squinting look, and said in his heart, "It's the end of the world, and if you pay the protection fee, can you explain it with your mouth? That is, whoever is stronger is right." Seeing that Chenru was knocked out with two punches, the survivors of Chenru's faction over there were all a little surprised. After all, from the outside, Su Ran's physique is not big, and she doesn't look like a powerful person, but no one would have thought that such a person who doesn't look amazing, would suddenly violently beat someone right now, and he would be stunned. An awakened person. They all followed Chenru. Knowing that Chenru, an awakened person, had a strong physique, Su Ran was able to knock him unconscious with two punches. Su Ran said, "Are you still charged protection fees?" The middle-aged man looked at Chenru, who was unconscious on the ground, and then at Su Ran in surprise, but his reaction was extremely quick, and he dragged Chenru's unconscious body away, out of the main road. This person immediately changed his smiling face and said, "Misunderstanding. Misunderstanding. What protection fee is not protection fee? Brother, it's all a misunderstanding. Let's just make a joke. Everyone is running for their lives, and we are not real come to collect protection fees. Go in. If you need anything in life, just ask. Let's support each other." This person is also a character, and with a few words, he brought back the situation that was on the verge of collapse. Su Ran also borrowed the donkey from the slope, and said with a smile, "We still have friends who will come over later, and I will trouble you to move the roadblocks and let them all in." "Thank you." Su Ran didn't suffer, so of course there was nothing to say at this time. The middle-aged man nodded, ordered people to get out of the way behind the roadblock, and let Su Ran and his group directly let them in. Su Ran nodded, turned her head and got into her car, and led the team all the way into the hypermarket. Seeing Su Ran's convoy drive in, the middle-aged man felt a little regretful. He just saw this group of people in such a mess, and thought that they were just a group of ordinary survivors, but he didn't expect that they were a group of ruthless people. One of his subordinates was a little bit aggrieved, and said, "Brother Da, he beat our brother Chen like this, so we let them in like this." The middle-aged man called Da just squinted at his subordinate, and said with some displeasure, "Do you have any brains? This group of people is obviously not a good person. Maybe the young man is also an awakened person." Really moved. "Let's start. Even if we kill them, we will kill a lot of people, and then alarm those monsters. Do you think we are losing money or making money? Do you think it's worth fighting to the death for such a trivial matter? I punched the eye today, it's mine." Not long after Su Ran's motorcade entered, His friends arrived. What the middle-aged man didn't expect was that these friends of Su Ran were from the military. Looking at the leading light infantry chariot, the middle-aged man's jaw almost didn't drop from shock. And not only that, Yukijin divided their convoy into more than a dozen groups before, and now they regrouped from all directions, driving one by one. Entering here, in the eyes of the middle-aged survivors, it is almost as if a group of convoys have just arrived and entered the underground garage of the hypermarket, and then another group has come, which has never stopped, and besides Su Ran's that convoy, and the many convoys that came after that, although there were also a large number of survivors, were all protected by the military at this time. The little brother suddenly realized, and said with some fear, I said, being so arrogant, he actually has a military background. Brother duh, I really listened to you, otherwise I will be in trouble. At this time, almost all the convoy under Yukijin had gathered. A large number of survivors, as well as military personnel, entered the hypermarket. Many survivors who had been hiding here with Chenru and others came out after hearing the news. The military and a large number of survivors got out of the car one after another. The inside of the hypermarket is also in a mess, and it no longer looks like it used to be prosperous. It seems that there has been a fire here, and there are traces of scorching in many places. The military suffered heavy losses, and most of the survivors were reduced by half. Although they have found a place to stay, many people are gloomy and worried about the future. On the other hand, the middle-aged man Brother Da on Chenru's side seemed to be very capable at this time. He brought his own people and a bunch of supplies, and yelled, "Come on, brothers, you all worked hard. Now, we are all human beings, it is not easy to gather here, we have some supplies here, let's share a share." It can be regarded as us who came first to clean up the dust for everyone. However, this Brother Da spoke beautifully, and brought out a lot of supplies, but ordinary survivors came up to ask for them, and the middle-aged man gave them a little bit, but he himself brought a lot of supplies to Yukijin's side. Yukijin is a pure and genuine soldier. According to his character, it is impossible to accept these things, but today he did not refuse, accepted what the middle-aged man brought, and said, "Thank you." Su Ran has a panoramic view of this scene. The military almost ran out of ammunition before. So where are the supplies? Seeing that Yukijin took his things, Nadege rubbed his hands and laughed, and said, "Okay, military and civilian families, we will all rely on you from now on." Chapter 58. I am a commissioner of the United Human Defense Agency. Although this hypermarket reveals the ruins of the era of catastrophe everywhere, its area is quite large enough to house these hundreds of people. Yukijin led his people to resettle the survivors in batches, and at the same time conduct simple safety knowledge training, and those wounded were also resettled. Li Shunchang was also injured, his legs were bandaged, he was still limping behind Yukijin, tirelessly engaged in the work of arranging those ordinary survivors. As he walked, blood oozed from under the bandages. Zi walked up, greeted Su Ran briefly, and then led his people away to set up defenses around the hypermarket. Most of the fighters around Xianxi, Su Ran had seen before, and they all thought that Su Ran was Xianxi's fellow villager or relative, so they were very warm and polite to him. According to them, in this last days, it is not easy to meet acquaintances, you must live well, but along the way, most of those familiar faces have disappeared. But when Su Ran met Xianxi for the first time, the recruit who followed the old squad leader was still alive. However, after a long time, he said in a low voice, "Su Ran, the squad leader said that you are a powerful person, can you let us get out alive?" Su Ran didn't expect him to ask such a question. She was a little surprised, and said, "Why do you ask that?" Wang Guoan said in a low voice, "I don't want to see anyone die anymore, my comrades, they all. I don't want to see the monitor and the others. The monitor has a family and a family, he can't just die like this." At this point, Wang Guoan couldn't continue. These soldiers who fought desperately and bloody battles also have their own families, and they are also in a corner of the last days at this time. They are here to fight to protect others, but isn't there also a group of people like this who are protecting their families? Su Ran turned her head and glanced at Yukijin over there, thinking deeply in her heart, there must be. Su Ran remained silent. He wanted to tell Wang Guoan that he had a way to make everyone here survive, but Su Ran knew that in such an era, there was no way to guarantee the survival of everyone, but to ensure the survival of the majority of people as much as possible. Wang Guoan also seemed to realize that he shouldn't ask Su Ran such a question, and said, "I'm just asking casually, don't take it to heart then." He said loudly, "Hello, Mr. Su, I'm Wang Guoan. It's an honor to meet you." Wang Guoan came from the army. This is his normal volume. The voice is loud, and it immediately attracted the attention of many people. Xianzi was startled. He came from behind and kicked his recruit. "What are you doing? Hurry up, we have to deploy external defenses after this battle." There were only 73 military soldiers who arrived at the hypermarket alive, and these 73 people were counted as the wounded in the military. Su Ran was silent for a moment, stepped forward, and stuffed a bag full of food for Xianzi. It was taken out of the watch by Su Ran while Xianzi was not looking. There is not much food in Su Ran's watch, most of them are all kinds of equipment and weapons. Xianzi looked at the bag of sausage, compressed biscuits and the like, his lips twitched, swallowed, and said, "No, in this big battle, Su Ran, your chances are gone, and you have nothing left. Right? I can't take these things, you keep them for yourself, you are a secret agent, you should still have a mission, help us. It's already dragging you down, I can't take it." Su Ran's nose was slightly sour when he said these words. How could this be the person who proudly gave him a big bag of beef jerky in the 3rd hospital a few days ago? But Su Ran just shook his head and said, "Give it up to the brothers, I still have them here, don't worry, people like me won't starve to death." Xianzi didn't say anything else, took the bag full of food, and hurriedly led his men to set up defenses outside. After a great battle, the survivors survived for the rest of their lives. Only this group of fighters stood silently there from beginning to end. The resettlement ended soon, and in the empty and desolate hypermarket, it seemed that these survivors had come to life, but in the corner, the low sobbing of some survivors could still be heard. Su Ran originally wanted to take Xinyu to a quiet place on the upper floors to rest. As a resident here in his previous life, he was not familiar with this hypermarket, but Xinyu seemed to be quite familiar with Li Yilin. Stunned, "It's because she doesn't want to go with Su Ran, you know." Many survivors now dream of having a relationship with Su Ran. Su Ran's nose was ashamed, so she could only go upstairs by herself, standing in front of the glass of the former Western restaurant on the 5th floor, staring at the outside world. At some point, Yukijin suddenly came up, stood side by side with Su Ran in front of the half-broken window, took out a box of crumpled Zuon doors, took out 2 cigarettes from it, and handed Su Ran one. I took one, lit it, took a sip, and said, "The number of monsters in the city of Ice City should have exceeded 1 million, but this city is even bigger, and even if 1 million monsters come out in full force, they will not be destroyed. It may spread throughout the entire city, not to mention that they have dispersed a large number of troops to block the way out of the Ice City." Su Ran glanced at him and said, "But that doesn't mean we can hide here forever. The reinforcements from the military won't come." Our channel has almost been completely silent. There are 7 worm nests in the Longjiang area. Although the Ice City is the first batch to fall from the sky, in this case. Yukijin at this point, he stopped talking and said instead, "Su Ran, I want to know, who are you?" Su Ran said without thinking, "I'm actually a commissioner of the Joint Human Defense Agency." After thinking for a while, Su Ran explained in a superfluous way, "Before the end of the world broke out, countries around the world had already detected the arrival of the insect nest, but at that time, many people only regarded it as an alien meteorite that was about to fall on the Earth. That's all, but there are also very few people who realize that this may be an extraterrestrial invasion, and have made certain preparations for it, and the Joint Human Defense Agency is this preparation." This is what Su Ran fooled Chen Ling before, and now he has brought it up again, of course because he can't say who he is, he can't admit that he is a reborn person, right? Instead of explaining nonsense, it's better to make it up. It's all the same anyway. The corners of Yukijin's mouth twitched, as if he didn't expect Su Ran to bring out such a thing. He glanced at Su Ran, took a puff of cigarette, and turned his eyes to the world that was gradually revealing its pale belly and the black clouds flying in the sky. The swarm exhaled a puff of smoke slowly, and then said slowly, "To be honest, my intuition tells me that although what you said is true, you are actually making up nonsense to fool me. But, you before said that you want to destroy the Ice City insect nest. Can you tell me about your plan now?" The two looked at each other, and in this bleak world, they both laughed slowly. Chapter 59: Kidney Tablets as Gifts at the End of the World. After talking with Yukijin for a long time, Su Ran returned to the place she found Dist A. It was a sample bed in an inconspicuous corner of the 3rd floor home workshop. He pulled out the quilt he had prepared earlier from the space of his watch, wrapped it up and lay down directly on it before falling asleep. Su Ran was still thinking about various things in his mind after this night of bloody battle. His resource points reached an unprecedented 1,037 points. It took 1,000 resource points to build an inland destroyer. In the blink of an eye, His resource points were reduced to only the next bunch of scattered numbers. Su Ran nestled in her bed, calculated for a long time, and found that these 37 resource points were not enough for anything with the system in place. It is easy to build a huge black tech sky battleship, and it is also easy to build it to lift it into the air, but that alone is not enough. No ammunition, no energy. What can you do when you go into the air? 37 resource points, if used on the Nightingale aircraft, would definitely be enough to sustain the battle for a period of time, but it was far from enough to be used on the huge destroyer. Su Ran glanced at it. Just to fill up the 8 missile storage bays of the inland destroyer, it would cost at least 20 units of resource points. A lot of Nightingale aircraft have been built, and there is still a surplus, and it can still be used after launching, but Su Ran needed more than that. Propulsion fuel, anti-gravity engine fuel, naval gun ammunition, short-range artillery ammunition, and main gun generator energy supply all cost money. Su Ran didn't count the fast electromagnetic thruster other than the regular thruster of the destroyer. That thing is a low-level space thruster, which is loaded for the possible space combat and space raid of the destroyer, and he may not be able to use it. Superior. After calculating for a long time, Su Ran came to a conclusion that at least 60 to 100 resource points are needed for this destroyer to attack with all its strength. Of course, Su Ran had expected this for a long time. It is not enough to build a ship with 1,000 resource points. Therefore, he is not too distressed at this time. Anyway, there are still dozens of hours before the destruction of the inland destroyer. Su Ran is also prepared for this. Although the situation in Bingchang is taking a turn for the worse, he has a dark energy armor and a dark energy hunting gun in his hand. Be cautious. With his experience and strength, the last few dozen resource points should be hard to get. Soldiers come to block water and earth to cover. Living people can be killed by monsters, but they cannot be killed by themselves. Su Ran made up her mind, so she covered herself with a quilt, and prepared to take a nap first. Tomorrow, she would check the situation and walk to the edge of the city, where the hypermarket was located, to continue hunting black beetles. Moreover, there are not many other materials for his watch, so he just took this opportunity to add something. But Su Ran fell into deep sleep, and after a while, he suddenly felt something different. Something soft came up. Su Ran felt this in a daze, and was startled at once, thinking that some weird soft-bodied insect had sneaked in. Suddenly opened his eyes, grabbed the ball with a lot of force, and with a backhand the other party was pressed on his bed. And then he was about to draw a gun, but at this moment, the soft thing let out a scream, which made Su Ran's movements pause, and did not shoot him to death in one go. After a little getting used to the light, Su Ran could see clearly that it was a woman, and it's a pretty sensual woman, wearing only a thin beach 3-point style. It's she who just climbed onto Su Ran's bed like a water snake. But at this time, the beautiful woman looked at Su Ran's gun that was almost on her nose. Her expression changed drastically, and she said, "Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Su Ran vigilantly pushed away a distance, let the woman sit up, and said vigilantly, "Who are you? What do you do? How did you find me here?" The woman was terrified by Su Ran. After trembling and talking for a long time, I finally explained. This woman's name is Zhang Zinayu, and she is a survivor from Chenru's side. The reason why she climbed into Su Ran's bed today was to flatter her at the instigation of the middle-aged man in charge of Chenru's side. Su Ran also knew the middle-aged man's name from Zhang Zinayu's mouth. Lu Da, it's Dajak. Daja asked me to come here. You see, I brought you a bunch of healthcare products. We just want to get to know you. You? Su Ran glanced at it, and sure enough, she saw a pile of healthcare products such as Shenbao tablets on the ground on the other side. It seems that the one named Lu Da felt that he had offended Su Ran today, and he was trying to make up for it. But, Nima, Beauty Plus Kidney Treasure Tablet, is this a 3-piece kidney massage set? In the last days, there are still people who give it like this. Seeing Su Ran's expression softened, the woman thought for a while, then put on a charming face again, twisted her body and came closer, and said, "Would you like to try? I'm doing fine." Su Ran is not a saint either. Seeing such a sensual beauty approach her, his heart skipped a beat, but he shook his head and coldly refused. "No, you go back, tell you that Dada brother, I have accepted the things, and I have received my wishes." Seeing this, the beautiful woman was also agile, said no more, nodded, and left directly. That's right, Su Ran's heart skipped a beat, but now is not the time to do this. The military has lost control of the Ice City, and bugs are killing people everywhere. There may still be millions of people in the Ice City today, and the number will be tomorrow. It may be less than half. The fewer people alive, The more dangerous the situation is for all the survivors who are still in the Ice City because the total number of human beings is decreasing, the number of those alien war bugs is increasing day by day. With each other changing, the Ice City will only become more and more dangerous. One more day of delay means one more day of risk that is linked to death. Before the swarm of insects in the Ice City became unmatched, he had to complete a counterattack, otherwise not only would he have no chance, he might even be in the Ice City. It's not that Su-Ran has never seen a woman before, so she won't waste the time that counts against every second on this kind of matter. However, after going through this, Su-Ran couldn't fall asleep anymore. She sat on her bed for a long time, put the pile of healthcare products into the watch space, and went downstairs to hunt black beetles. When they were going out, they ran into Xia and Xi. They smoked a cigarette together on the first floor. When they heard that Su-Ran was going out, Xi asked, "Su-Ran, you want to go out? Do you need help? Let me give you a hand. Besides, it is estimated that we will also look for survival supplies outside. Why don't we wait a little later and let's go together?" Su-Ran hesitated for a moment, but still shook her head. No need, now is not the time for group battles. Black beetles are sweeping across the city. One more person is more risky. Su-Ran has a dark energy armor, so it is more convenient for one person to act. The next time these soldiers are needed to take action, it must be the time when all the insect nests are in total. It would be bad if they lost more people. Now seeing Su-Ran's refusal, Xi didn't insist, he just ordered, "Su-Ran, be careful." Chapter 60, Ice City University. Li Yilin took Xin Yu, a little girl, to find a big warm bed in the furniture store on the third floor of the hypermarket, and fell into deep sleep. At this time of year, most of the survivors who raided hypermarkets came here for food. When they raided such a large shopping mall, they would basically go to the underground supermarket and the restaurant area on the fifth floor. Therefore, there were hardly any survivors in the furniture mall on the third floor. The survivors will come, and where there are no survivors, there will be no black beetles. Therefore, although this hypermarket is in a mess everywhere, most of the things in the furniture city are still in good condition. At this time, it has become a resting place for many survivors. However, most of the survivors recognize Li Yilin and know that this is an awakening. Otherwise, no one would, and no one would dare to disturb her rashly, so Li Yilin slept quite soundly this time, and when she woke up again, it was already high in the sun. It's still a gloomy day. The dense clouds above the sky covered the light of the sky, making the whole world look gray, and under the thick clouds, swarms of migratory locusts spread between the sky and the clouds, like birds surging in a river. Kurosio, and in some places in the Ice City, there are a lot of migratory locusts gathering in the sky, and the sky patrollers even fly high above the clouds. These are the survivors found by the swarm after the big battle last night. The strategic direction of the insect nest will completely become to find and kill the remaining survivors in the Ice City. Small groups of survivors will be annihilated by small groups of black beetles. If you find out, there will be an army of war insects to annihilate them immediately. Fortunately, at this moment, there was silence inside and outside the hypermarket, obviously not yet discovered by the swarm. Li Yilin turned around in this building for half a circle, but she didn't find Su-Ran. At this moment, she saw Xi, who was on duty and retreated from the front, rubbing his neck, and she couldn't help but stop him and asked, "Squad leader, did you see Su-Ran? Why is he missing?" Xi replied very normally, "Go out." "Going out? He's alone? Going out at this time?" "That's right." Xi said. "He said he was going out to hunt down the lonely monsters." "What?" Li Yilin could hardly believe her ears. "Squad leader Xi, did I hear wrong or did you say wrong? At this moment, monsters are chasing us humans to kill, but he wants to run out alone killing monsters? What did he think?" "I don't know that." He shook his head, but what he was thinking at the moment was, those are special combat personnel. "I am not surprised to go out to hunt a monster." His judgment on Su-Ran was the opposite of Yukijin's. Yukijin believed that Su-Ran was definitely not from the army. Xi was more thoughtful than Yukijin. Su firmly believed in the identity of the special confidential personnel. Now that Su-Ran has not admitted his identity in public, Xi still sincerely wants to help Su-Ran keep the secret and never reveal Su-Ran's secret identity to the outside world. And Li Yilin was really shocked and speechless. When Xi was gone, she still stood where she was, muttering, "Is this person a ghost? It's time to go out single-handedly to hunt down black people." "Beetle? What kind of fairy operation is this, Su-Ran?" "Indeed. went out to hunt black beetles. Although the Nightingale aircraft crashed, it was a good thing for him. Without the eye-catching large vehicle, he attacked alone. The target was small, and the probability of being discovered by the insect nest was even smaller. Moreover, the Nightingale aircraft was gone. The dark energy armor on his body is not covered either. The cost of this dark energy armor is at the same level as that of the huge Nightingale aircraft. Equipped with a dark energy hunting gun, it is not a problem to deal with a black beetle alone. Moreover, although the entire army of the insect nest is now attacking and strangling the survivors in the whole city, as you can analyze, the ice city is so huge, although there are many of these insects, but it is far from being able to flood the whole city. Traveling during the day, as long as you avoid the patrols of migratory locusts in the sky and the swarm of black beetles on the front, the risk factor will be greatly reduced at this stage. A large number of survivors get together to act, but there is no safety in single-handedly. Of course, a large number of survivors acting together has its disadvantages as well as its advantages, and there are also disadvantages of working alone. Su Ran came out for resource points last night. He and the military pushed forward with all their strength, until the Nightingale aircraft fell, back and forth. In less than an hour, Su Ran earned nearly 300 resource points, which can be said to be a lot of money. But if he wants to fight, at least 100 resource points are needed to successfully build Su Ran's inland destroyer and have the power to fight. However, there are not many black beetles acting alone on the street now. Under the unified command of the nest, they are searching for traces of survivors in the form of legions. Su Ran came out of the hypermarket and walked quietly for about 2 kilometers. She was almost at the Bingchang University next door, but she almost ran into a medium-sized insect swarm and didn't even have a resource point. Su Ran couldn't help being a little depressed, thinking, is this the effect of that? Yesterday's blood profit, today's blood loss? A cliff-like decline in income. But just when Su Ran's thought came to him, he suddenly heard a muffled gunshot from a residential building next to the university. The shooter seemed to be in a panic. The rhythm of the shooting was chaotic, and the footsteps mixed in with the gunshots were even more chaotic. But there was a unique hiss of a black beetle, which was mixed in with the gunshots, making it extraordinarily clear. Su Ran immediately turned her head and rushed towards the direction of the gunshots, and saw that in the residential building, the stairs had been torn apart by black beetles. A huge black beetle was running on the building, chasing a young man like a college student. The college student held the gun in his hand, with a look of panic on his face. He emptied all the bullets in a short while, and Su Ran came out at this moment, from behind, from bottom to top, shot at the black beetle's chrysanthemum, and with a loud bang, the black beetle's body trembled and slid directly from above. When he got down, the chrysanthemum exploded, neighing in pain. Then, Su Ran came up from behind and shot him in the head to kill him. Su Ran didn't shy away from it, and killed the black beetle, regardless of the presence of outsiders. She raised her watch and collected the black beetle's body. At this moment, the college student recovered from his panic, stumbled to Su Ran's side, and said, thank you, I'm Dongwu. Are you? However, Su Ran acted as if she didn't hear him. She just stared straight at the college student in front of her, with a wolf-like excited light in her eyes. He suddenly realized where he could find the lonely black beetle. Chapter 61. You think too highly of yourself. The answer is actually very simple. In the current ice city, there are tens of thousands of large swarms of insects, chasing and killing a large number of survivors. When a large number of survivors are washed away and flee in all directions, the black beetles must be completely wiped out, and of course they must be divided into many groups, or even hunted down one-on-one. Wouldn't the overwhelming swarm of insects disperse into smaller ones again? And not only that, there are at least 1 million people trapped in this ice city. Under such circumstances, not every survivor is lucky enough to be protected by the military and evacuated in batches. Many people are even a few people, or even one person, fleeing like headless chickens in the city. In this state, it is impossible for the worm nest to send hundreds or even thousands of war worms to kill a few ordinary people, and only use black beetles to sweep them away. For example, in the current situation, this college student only has one black beetle to chase and kill him. People are running, and the black beetle is looking for people. In such a situation, Su Ran can just find someone, where there is a small group of survivors screaming and screaming. As long as he chases them, he will definitely be able to block the black beetle. Thinking of this level, Su Ran looked at a college student named Dongwu who inspired him, and his gaze was suddenly very kind and gentle. Su Ran also stretched out her hand, patted the other person's shoulder, and said, good guy, good boy, these shots are beautiful. They are powerful. Dongwu was stunned by Su Ran's sexy gaze and his endless words. He thought to himself, I just fired a whole load of bullets, and I almost missed the shot. It didn't hurt the black beetle half a point, so how powerful is it? Could it be that the person who saved himself is a fool? Dongwu looked Su Ran up and down, and the awe in his heart faded a bit, but he came out of curiosity. Brother, you are really powerful. Who are you? Your gun is really powerful, except for the grenade. I have never seen anyone who can smash the black beetle's hard head so easily with a single shot. Su Ran shook his head. He was excited at the moment, and he didn't have the heart to talk to this college student, so he planned to walk away with a few perfunctory words, and followed his own way to hunt black beetles. So he just said, it's nothing, it's just an ordinary gun. Now the whole city of black beetles is connected to the internet, and if a black beetle dies here, other war beetles will arrive soon, so you should go too. As he said that, Su Ran turned his head, intending to leave, but the moment he turned his head, he seemed to see a threatening glint in the eyes of the college student opposite, but Su Ran didn't say anything, just walked forward silently. Dongwu looked at Su Ran's back, but there was a fierce look in his eyes. In his opinion, Su Ran is simply the kind of tiger-headed and tiger-brained person. It's a pity to keep that gun in his hand. Greed surged up in his heart in an instant. Dongwu slowly pulled out a fruit knife from his waist, quietly leaned up from behind step by step, and then handed it out. And then, there is no more who is Su Ran. He is the king of bullshit who lived for 3 years in the apocalypse. It is a dream come true for a mere college student survivor to sneak attack on him. What's more, this college student can't even hide the fierce light in his eyes, let alone succeed in sneak attack. Su Ran turned her head in an instant, pinched the opponent's arm holding the knife with one hand, and pulled it directly in the opposite direction. Under the blessing of the dark energy armor, there was only a click, and Dongwu's arm was pulled by Su Ran on the spot. The bone was broken and twisted in a strange posture. The fruit knife in Dongwu's hand fell directly to the ground, and he screamed, "You, what are you doing?" Su Ran looked at him coldly, and said, "I saved your life, but instead of thanking me, you wanted to kill me instead. What do you think I'm doing now?" Dongwu's expression twisted, and he hissed, "Why is such powerful equipment in your hands? You can't even understand the words? Such powerful equipment should be used by me. If I have this thing, I'm still afraid. What black beetle? If I have this equipment, I can also kill the black beetle. I may have already killed the ice city." This guy is obviously the kind of idealistic superior person whose mind has been destroyed by the end of the world. In this kind of people's heart, they themselves are always the best, and others are better than them. It's just luck. Su Ran looked at him, and said indifferently, "You can't even use a pistol well, and you failed to sneak attack me. Why do you say you are more capable than me? Brother, you think highly of yourself too." Su Ran's words were cold and piercing, straight to the point, causing that Dongwu to freeze in place, with his mouth wide open. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. Su Ran didn't speak anymore. He pulled out the 92 style that he had built and rarely used from his waist, and pointed it directly at the young man. At this moment, Dongwu yelled again, "Are you going to kill me? Are you going to be a murderer? You?" These are the last words in his life, because at the next moment, Su Ran shot. The light briefly illuminated the gloomy corridor. Dongwu fell backwards, twitched, and was completely motionless. Su Ran's principle has always been, if you want to kill me, I will kill you. He has his own bottom line and principles. He will not hesitate when saving people, and even less hesitant when killing people. In the last days, there are 3 schools of thought. There are good people and bad people. Su Ran has long been used to it. He was just a little pity. This young man had only inspired him, but he died under his own gun in the blink of an eye. What a twist of fate. Su Ran closed the 92 style safety, pinned it back to her waist, walked out of this small building, and walked forward. This time Su Ran had a strategy, and the purpose became much clearer. There are not many survivors trapped in the ice city, but there are not many. Su Ran used the method of finding survivors to find the black beetle, and indeed he got something. In this community, he hunted and killed 2 black beetles, back and forth. A total of 3 resource points were acquired. During the period, Su Ran also raided a small individual supermarket in a community, and searched for a lot of messy snacks and the like to fill up the supplies he needed. These survivors are still normal. Some of them have been frightened, and an old man who knew him even took the initiative to come up and said, "Come on, brother, smoke a cigarette. Thank you very much today, but, look, now in the city like this, our family is just ordinary people, can you?" When he said this, the fool understood what he meant. He hoped that Suran could send the Buddha to the west and escort them for a ride, but Suran just shook his head. It's okay to save people now, but pulling a group of survivors to escape escorting death today is different from the past. The whole city was in chaos last night, there were wars everywhere, and you can escape with a convoy, but now it is not possible. Suran shook his head and said, I'm afraid it won't work. Seeing Suran's embarrassment, the uncle smiled and said, it's okay, we'll figure it out on our own. Brother, you have to smoke this cigarette. If it wasn't for you, our family might have died in that monster just now. And Suran nodded and said, I wish you good luck. By the way, I have a question with you. Do you know where there are black beetles alone? No, I am not asking where there are black beetles. I want to ask, where is there a small group of survivors who are trapped like you? The uncle was stunned for a moment, and seemed to be a little curious why Suran asked such a question. These days, everyone is too busy to take care of themselves and wants to flee with their arms around their thighs. How can anyone take the initiative to find the black beetle and other survivors? This is really a strange young man. However, this uncle is a very measured person. Although he was curious, he didn't ask too many questions. He just replied truthfully, there should be trapped students in the university town opposite. There was a military team who came here to evacuate and survived. Those who were defeated by the black beetle swarm, no one successfully evacuated, and there should be many trapped people there. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62. Are you a Jedi Knight? The uncle paused for a while before continuing, but there should be a lot of black beetles in that university town. After saying this, the uncle noticed that Suran's expression was normal when he heard that there were many trapped students in the university city, but when he heard that there were black beetles, his eyes immediately glowed. Excited stand up. The uncle couldn't help swallowing, and thought, is this person looking for a living person or a black beetle? Why does it look like it is running towards a black beetle? Now when it comes to the black beetle, it can be said that everyone changes color and avoids it for fear. Why is this person still thinking about looking for the black beetle? But the uncle didn't ask any more questions. Suran got the information he wanted, so he thanked him, and hurried out with his dark energy hunting gun. Bingchang University, a former institution of higher learning, is now desolate. Broken vehicles, bloodstains, and smoky flames can be seen everywhere on the streets outside. The gate of the university city is wide open, and there is nothing in the security room except a large pool of blood along the way. Suran didn't even see a single corpse on the street. The black beetle brought all the human corpses back to the nest, firstly, as food, secondly, as raw materials for producing more monsters. This is why these monsters massacred humans from time to time. Migratory locusts whizzed past in the sky, and at the far end of the world, sky patrollers stood on the top of the TV tower in Ice City, flapping their wings and screaming, and the sound shook the whole city. That uncle didn't lie to Suran. There are many survivors in Bingchang University. Suran came in from the edge of the front, casually walked into a teaching building on the side, and saw the survivors in many places. These survivors are hiding themselves, some are hiding under classroom desks, some even covered their bodies with excrement. Everyone's eyes looked so frightened. This is the true portrayal of the lives of the vast majority of people under this disaster. In this era, those who can flee with the military are the lucky ones. Many people even have to find ways to avoid a black beetle and the slaughter on their own. Struggling to survive. Living like this is even worse than death. No one who lives in this era can have the word easy in their dictionary. The army was defeated head-on, and overnight, the situation faced by the survivors in the whole city took a sharp turn for the worse. Suran was someone who had experienced this before, and he had been so terrified like a bereaved dog, so he could guess where these survivors would be hiding. But that's all. Suran will not lend a helping hand. He also has his own things to do. After wandering around the teaching building for half a circle, Suran withdrew and walked among the trees and grass on the campus, trying to hide himself as much as possible, looking for the black beetle. In this university town there are so many living people in this university city, there must be black beetles, looking for the hiding humans just like Suran was looking for them. This kind of civilization invasion has no benevolence and morality at all. The purpose of the insect nest is to exterminate the living people in the city. Suran soon found a target. It was on the campus boulevard, just across the street from the first teaching building. A black beetle was dragging the corpse of a human woman. The woman was dragged along the road covered in blood. On the road, leaving a very profane bloody path, Su Ran set up a dark energy hunting gun in the shadows, and from a distance of more than 10 meters, he completed the sniper kill with one shot. After shooting the black beetle, Su Ran quickly flitted out from the shadows, approached, took away the black beetle's body, and then quickly retreated. Not long after he left, a group of locusts swarmed from this position in the sky. It whizzed past, paused for a moment, and one of them fell down, taking away the lonely woman's body on the ground. Blink flew away. At this time, Su Ran was running to the next position that was the direction of the Bingchang University Gymnasium, and there seemed to be a battle between the black beetle and the survivors. Su Ran moved closer immediately, and was pleasantly surprised to find that there were actually 2 black beetles outside the gymnasium. 2 black beetles, not too many and not too many, are the resource points delivered to your door. Su Ran couldn't be polite. She immediately raised the dark energy hunting gun in her hand, hid in the shadows, and killed one of them from a long distance. But at this time, the second black beetle was startled and turned sharply. Turning around, with a hiss, he rushed towards Su Ran at high speed. Su Ran was not polite, turned his gun, and took the black beetle away with one shot. Immediately, Su Ran jumped out of his hiding place and quickly approached the gymnasium. He took away the corpses of the 2 black beetles along the way, and with a gun in hand, he rushed into the gymnasium. All the way, following the exclamations and screams of the humans, sound ran forward. Su Ran thought to himself, there are 2 black beetles outside, so there must be 3 or 4 inside. But when he got closer, Su Ran realized that he was thinking too much. The survivors inside were not black beetles at all, but 3-headed slayers, chasing a group of college students. That group of college students was quite smart. Instead of taking the spacious main stairs of the gymnasium, they ran down the underground stairs all the way to reduce the number of monsters they faced at the same time. But the fighting power of this group of college students is almost zero, even worse than that Lone Ranger arrogant Dongwu, who didn't even have a gun in his hand, and swung a few iron rods a few times, but didn't hurt the slaughterer at all. The slayer's knife foot was chopped up on the spot. In a panic, the group of survivors backed away in a blur. At this moment, a girl exclaimed, sprained her foot in a hurry, and fell headfirst up. These college students screamed one after another. At this time, a brave boy rushed out. He didn't care about anything, just grabbed the girl's hair and dragged him back desperately. The girl was in pain. They all rolled their eyes, but they saved their lives because of it. Seeing this, the brave boy heaved a sigh of relief. But at this moment, other people exclaimed in surprise. That's right, it was an exclamation, not the exclamation and terrified shout just now, as if seeing something extremely surprising. At this moment, the boy raised his head curiously, and saw a scene that left him dumbfounded. In the dark underground stairs of the gymnasium, a ray of light is brightening. At this moment, there was a fierce figure coming from behind the light, holding something like a laser sword, with skillful techniques and fierce moves. 3 strikes, 5 divisions and 2 divisions. Within a few breaths, he cleanly killed those college students who were chasing after them, who had nowhere to go, were easily beheaded. The whole process was smooth, and when the sharp figure killed the slayer, and turned the lightsaber to stand proudly, the brave boy was already dumbfounded, and blurted out, "Are you a Jedi Knight?" Chapter 63. Hello, Senior. Of course, the one who rescued the scene in time could not be a Jedi Knight. That was Su Ran, who came in with a lightsaber and with the help of a dark energy armor. Now, unlike before, the ammunition of the dark energy hunting gun can be saved, and it is reserved for the more threatening black beetle. Therefore, to deal with these slaughterers, Su Ran simply carried his inferior laser sword and killed them. Fortunately, although the laser sword is inferior, his dark energy armor is powerful and completely crushes the slaughterers. Therefore, against these slaughterers, Su Ran can be regarded as a clean kill without any mods. But this scene stunned the students below. The college student at the front yelled, "Are you a Jedi Knight?" Su Ran's question was inexplicable, but it made all the college students in the back explode, showing excitement. Lightsaber? Really, a Jedi? Could it be that our universe is the world of Star Wars? Are you kidding? It should be the Awakened. There are some random guesses like this, and some people are more normal. They survived, and they all showed the surprise of the rest of their lives after the catastrophe. Listening to the nonsense of these college students, Su Ran almost vomited blood. How did he feel like a Jedi Knight? If you want to say that you have a big heart, you have to be a college student with the biggest heart. Su Ran didn't have the time to waste time here. He glanced at the group of people and said, "It's dangerous here, you'd better hurry up and get out." With that said, Su Ran put away the laser sword, turned her head, and went towards the layman. But at this time, The brave boy who was at the front and just rescued a girl ran up and said, "Hello, I'm Xiao Zhengyang, the secretary of the Students' Union of Bingchang University. You are awakened." Su Ran glanced at him and said, "If I were to die, so many war insects here, a large number of insects would surely kill them in less than 10 minutes. If you don't want to die, stop talking nonsense here." Xiao Zhengyang shook his head, looking a bit naive and single-minded. "This awakened brother, our Students' Union also has an awakened person. I think you are also alone. If we join forces, maybe the chance of survival will be better." And at this moment, there was a sudden sound of footsteps outside the gymnasium, and a female college student in a black leather jacket hurried over with a group of survivors. Ren and Xiao Zhengyang were taken aback immediately, and said, "School brother? Aren't you surrounded by monsters? This is, senior sister, this brother saved us, he is an awakened person." Xiao Zhengyang paused, and then introduced a female college student to Su Ran. "Brother, this is what I told you, we the awakened one, Lin Kiao, the deputy director of the propaganda department of our student union." Hearing these words, Su Ran and Lin Kiao looked at each other. Lin Kiao nodded to Su Ran, and said, "Hi, I'm Lin Kiao, and I'm in charge of the campus with some teachers in the school safety of survivors who are still alive." Hearing these words, Su Ran was slightly taken aback. Although the survivors here are scattered, the number seems to be more than he imagined. Since the black beetle has appeared here, if there are really a large number of survivors in this school, it must have been noticed by the insect nest. And the encircling army may even be on its way. When Su Ran was slightly taken aback, Lin Kiao said, "I think you are alone. How about you come with us?" Only then did Su Ran come to her senses, shook her head, and said, "Thank you for your invitation, but I won't go with you, and I suggest that you evacuate here as soon as possible and find another place to hide. This place is no longer safe." Hearing these words, Lin Kiao frowned slightly. Obviously, some did not believe Su Ran's words, and said, "No way, we have been hiding here for half a month, the teachers and students of the whole school are scattered and hiding. There are more black beetles recently, but it should not be to the point of threatening our survival, right? People are inert. When they settle down in a place, few people are willing to take the initiative to leave before seeing the real danger." Thinking about it differently, if Su Ran was one of these students, it would be impossible to give up this pretty good hiding place based on a few words from others. These students are familiar with their own campus, and there is no place easier than here. Su Ran thought for a while, then changed her tactics, and said, "Okay, hello senior sister. I'm actually a student of this school too." Su Ran's original intention was to lie about being a student, to get closer, and to explain why it's not safe here, but he only said half of it. The smile on Lin Kiao's face froze a little. "I said, Uncle, you are so old, you say you are a college student, and you call me senior sister, you have to have a limit to deceiving people, right?" Su Ran almost vomited blood when he said this. He pinched his face instinctively, and thought, "I have only graduated from university for 4 or 5 years, do I look so old already?" Being exposed on the spot, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Su Ran's mouth twitched, and he said, "Well, I'm not a student, but I'm not scaremongering. You were able to hide here before because of the military's deployment throughout the city. Now the military was defeated, and the situation in Ice City has changed. The insect nests are searching and strangling the survivors throughout the city. Since you have been discovered by the insects, this place is dangerous. You'd better move your positions and hide elsewhere. This is mine. Reminder, whether you listen or not, it will not do me any good or bad, but it may affect yourselves." After Su Ran finished speaking, she nodded politely, and without wasting any time, she turned her head and withdrew in a hurry. After Su Ran left, Lin Kiao and Xiao Zhengyang looked at each other with embarrassing expressions. Lin Kiao is a hot-tempered girl, exhaled, and said, "Really, why is this person like a ghost? He still calls me senior sister. He looks like he is in his 30s, right?" Really hearing this sentence, Xiao Zhengyang couldn't help shrinking his neck, and said, "I think that brother is also quite handsome, just like a Jedi Knight, and he is not so old, right?" After he finished speaking, he suddenly noticed a cold gaze, and it was Lin Kiao who glared at him. Lin Kiao said, "Really, what you said is all scaremongering. We have been hiding here for so long, and, even if we want to withdraw, there are so many people in this school and they are so scattered, how can we say just leave?" Xiao Zhengyang opened his mouth, as if he wanted to suggest a few words, but after thinking about it, Considering his senior sister's fiery temper, he didn't dare to say anything. Lin Kinkyo shook her head and said, "No matter what. Let's go back first. The number of black beetles that appeared on campus today seems to have indeed increased." As Lin Kinkyo spoke, she walked forward first. Her brows were tightly frowned, as if she was thinking about it, wondering if she was thinking about the warning that Su Ran said. Chapter 64 1 Laser Sword, 20 Salted Duck Eggs. At this time, Su Ran had already walked out of the stadium. He said that sentence as a person who was born again. Now those bugs have completely changed their combat strategy, and the first goal is to wipe out the entire city of humans. It is very different from the previous situation. But those are ordinary college students, but it may be difficult to realize that the situation has changed overnight. However, Su Ran's reminder is nothing more than that. He still has his own important things to do. These two reminders are the best of humanity. Su Ran turned out of the stadium, and before he had gone far, a college student chased him out. Su Ran noticed his following immediately, stopped, frowned and asked, "What are you going to do?" The college student was burly and seemed to be a fitness expert. His muscles were extremely obvious. At first glance, he gave people a sense of explosive strength, but at this time, this strong man seemed a little bit awkward, and said, "That, your laser sword? Can you give it to me?" Su Ran frowned, and thought to herself, "Is this because I took a fancy to my equipment to grab the sword?" Su Ran's gaze immediately turned cold. He was absolutely unambiguous about this kind of person. However, the strong college student seemed to have sensed Su Ran's thoughts, and quickly waved his hand, saying, "Don't get me wrong, I do want your sword, but I'm not here to grab it, I want to exchange it with you." Su Ran was not short of supplies, but after thinking about it, he still asked curiously, "What do you want to exchange with me?" The college student chuckled, took 2 steps closer, leaned forward, and whispered furtively, 20 salted duck eggs." This college student has a burly body, but his appearance at this time is particularly wretched. But Su Ran's heart skipped a beat. He has a lot of laser swords, which were purely made last time for fun. And things like salted duck eggs are not easy to get in the last days. After all, these things also have storage requirements, and although the system can make them, but Su Ran is obviously not rich enough to use resource points to make salted duck eggs. Okay. Su Ran's eyes brightened. A laser sword, 20 salted duck eggs. Immediately afterwards, the college student took Su Ran to the basement of a dormitory in a sneaky way. The basement in the northern summer was cold and dry, and the nest of salted duck eggs was still well preserved. The strong man had a total of 30 salted duck eggs in his hand, and gave 20 of them to Su Ran. Su Ran was also very happy, and paid directly with a laser sword. Both of them are very happy. The burly college student felt that he had obtained a powerful black technology, while Su Ran had obtained salted duck eggs that were difficult to obtain in the last days. The salted duck eggs are worth more than gold when taken outside. For these two guys, they both feel that they have made a lot of money. That brawny college student's face was about to burst into joy. He should have looked simple and honest, but instead he became more treacherous and wretched. However, this college student is also courageous enough. He and Su Ran are completely unequal in strength. In this transaction, if Su Ran has evil thoughts and kills the college student when he sees the salted duck egg, that is another situation. Of course, Su Ran was not that kind of person. Unless he was about to starve to death, he would not raise his hand and kill someone just for a few salted duck eggs. Even so, Su Ran asked one more question. "You made a deal with me so aggressively, and even let me see the place where you hide salted duck eggs. Are you not afraid that I will kill you without being a man?" Hearing this sentence, the college student smiled slightly, changed his previous obscene style, and said lightly, "If you were that kind of person, you wouldn't have rescued us before." After parting ways, Su Ran was still rubbing her chin, thinking, "If I switch careers to be a businessman in the last days, what kind of painting style will I have?" Of course, this is just a small episode. It's still early. Su Ran put away those 20 salted duck eggs. Immediately afterwards, he continued to patrol the campus, looking for the lone black beetle to hunt and kill. At this time, there were not many monsters on the campus of Bingchang University. The army of war bugs should still be besieging and suppressing the remnants of the military and survivors near the central city area, and it should not move here in a short time. After all, there are still a lot of survivors in the city, and the insect nests have to be attacked one by one. Survivor gathering points with troops are the first priority attack sequence, such as Bingchang University, which is purely a place for ordinary college students to hide. On the list of insect nest eradication, the position should still be very low. After Su Ran left the stadium, He continued his insect-killing journey, carefully hunting and killing black beetles in the campus, and soon, it was noon, and Su-Ran had been on the move for half a day, and planned to take a rest and find a safe place to have a bite of lunch. He is not an Iron Man, he has been exercising for a day, and he always has to for dinner, so Su-Ran found a nearby dormitory building that didn't seem to have any black beetles, and plunged into it. The dormitory building was also quiet, and it seemed that there were no survivors hiding here. The light in the corridor is very dim, and the doors of many rooms are closed or ajar. Su-Ran didn't intend to open one or two to find out. All the way up to the top floor, from the watch space, he directly took out to take out a portable induction cooker and a pot. The induction cooker is also produced by the system, a black technology product with independent power supply, which is guaranteed to be taken out and used in any environment. While Su-Ran was digging out the pot, she opened the system interface and found something. Name: small basic unmanned submersible. Description: the total length of this submersible is 2.0 meters. It is a torpedo-type submersible, which can be used for multiple purposes in river and sea areas. The rear propulsion device can realize a certain distance without water. It is equipped with a set of remote control basic controllers. Consumption: 10 resource points. Su-Ran directly invested 20 resource points to build 2 of these things. Although his all-round black technology system cannot pay by installment to create items, it can realize multi-channel creation and multi-thread operation. In the second level state, the highest production line is 5 at the same time. In the process of building the destroyer, it did not delay Su-Ran's production of ammunition and other things during this time. However, at this juncture, probably only he himself knows why Su-Ran made this kind of thing. After finishing this matter, Su-Ran took out a bottle of water from the watch, poured it into the pot, and prepared to cook instant noodles for eating. But at this time, he inadvertently raised his head, and from the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw a scene of bright pink on the rooftop. Chang University is an old school. This dormitory building is also an old building. Therefore, there are students' clothes drying racks on the roof of the building. In the corner not far away, there is such a drying rack with many uncollected clothes hanging on it, and even a pair of pink underwear fluttering in the wind. Su-Ran, where's the doormat? Why did I enter the girls' dormitory by mistake? Chapter 65: The happiness of a bowl of instant noodles. The induction cooker, water, and pot are all ready, and Su-Ran immediately took out a pack of Master Kong instant noodles from the space of her watch, as well as ham sausage, individually packaged marinated eggs, etc., and began to cook the instant noodles in full swing. Although I confirmed that I was in the girls' dormitory, in this end-of-the-world era, these actually have little meaning, and there is no difference. You eat fried chicken in People's Square, I cook instant noodles on the roof of the girls' dormitory. Su-Ran also frantically took out a salted duck egg that she just bought. Such a lunch can only be regarded as a casual meal before the end of the world, but in this end of the world, it can definitely be regarded as a well-off life. The instant noodles just went down, and after a while, the fragrance wafted out. But at this time, Su-Ran heard some slight noises. He turned his head and saw a few little girls at the entrance of the rooftop not far away. It turned out that there were survivors hiding in this quiet dormitory building. There are quite a few survivors in this school. Those little girls seemed to be the original owners of the dormitory building. They were a little afraid of Su-Ran, a stranger, and hid at the entrance of the rooftop, looking over here. And what made them linger so much was of course Su-Ran's pot of instant noodles. These girls, smelling the scent that wafted out, we're all drooling and discussing in low voices that person is cooking instant noodles. He also has sausages and marinated eggs. Gudong, that, if I read correctly, that is a salted duck egg, right? These girls obviously don't know how long they have been hiding here. They are all pale, thin and timid, and dare not go out for food. They all rely on the food bought in the building before the end of the world. Furthermore, teachers who are hiding in other places will give some help, but how much food can there be? After such a long period of time, 3 meals a day cannot be guaranteed. They have no water and electricity and no experience in survival. It is difficult for them to start a fire. For them, it is indeed quite difficult to eat boiled noodles. I really want to take a bite, just take a bite, really. It's the first time I feel that instant noodles can be so delicious. They are luxurious instant noodles with sausages, eggs and salted duck eggs. Don't go there. Do you know that person? In case he is a bad person. That's right, Doomsday even went to the girls' dormitory to make instant noodles. This person might be a pervert in Doomsday. I'll just wait for you to take the initiative, and then, no way, why don't we go up and have a try? How embarrassing is this? It was actually very quiet on the rooftop. Although the voices of these girls were low, in such a quiet environment, Su-Ran couldn't really hear what they were saying. However, from this ignorant conversation, Su-Ran can also judge that these little girls may have never left the campus after the end of the world broke out for more than half a month. Su-Ran could not help but sigh in her heart under such circumstances. It is almost impossible for these people to voluntarily abandon the school and hide in other places after hiding in one place for a long time. Even Su-Ran might feel a sense of comfort and be unwilling to leave. Let alone these survivors who have never participated in the escape at the end of the world and have been waiting for the military to rescue them, but being pointed at by this group of little girls, and set on the spot as a pervert who went to the girls' dormitory upstairs to eat instant noodles in the last days. Su-Ran was also a little embarrassed. However, as an old bird in the last days, Su-Ran's face was quite thick, and he was only embarrassed for a while. He quickly buried his head in eating noodles, completely ignoring the group of girls on the other side. The group of little girls just watched Su-Ran eat up a bowl of noodles, helplessly wiping his mouth. He stood up at this time. One of the few little girls finally mustered up a little courage, ran out from the entrance of the rooftop, and stood in front of Su-Ran. That's a girl with short hair at the ears. She looks pretty good. She has the heroic spirit of a boy. She glanced at Su-Ran and said, "Well, can you leave your leftover soup for us?" They were embarrassed to ask Su-Ran for noodles, so they kept their eyes on Su-Ran's remaining half bowl of noodle soup. But at this time, the girl looked at Su-Ran and looked a little nervous, as if she was afraid that Su-Ran would not agree. Su-Ran didn't refuse. He left the noodle soup and 3 packs of instant noodles. These female college students looked a little excited watching this scene. The short-haired girl said, "Thank you. This thank you is from the heart. In the last days, who can give you food is the same as who lent you money in times of crisis before the last days." Su-Ran glanced at these young female college students, shook her head, and said, "Take a bite and go quickly. Bingchang University is not safe anymore. Listen to my advice. If you stay here again, you will die." The female college students who spoke these words all looked awe-inspiring and looked at each other, but they didn't say anything. Su-Ran didn't say anything more. It is enough for him to say this kind of thing once, and those who can listen to it will naturally listen to it, and those who cannot listen to it, no matter how much he persuades, it will be meaningless. What's more, Su-Ran has no obligation to persuade her. He still has his own things to do, and a word of persuasion is already the best of benevolence. Passing by these students, Su-Ran continued to hunt black beetles in the university town, and met many college students. Some were as ignorant as these little girls, and some were like the one Su-Ran had met before, the kind of scum. He even met a student who imprisoned a female student in a corner and tortured him in every possible way. When Su-Ran found out, the female teacher was out of shape. She was meticulously hung upside down in the room, and the flesh and blood below her was already a prisoner. More gas and less gas. What kind of person is this to make people like this? Anger also rose in Su-Ran's heart when Su-Ran found this place. The student hadn't come back yet. He personally ended her pain and waited here for half an hour before the student came back from outside. Su-Ran walked out of the shadows directly when the man saw Su-Ran, a stranger. He was surprised, but Su-Ran didn't talk nonsense with him at all. He just came up and waved his fists, pursed his lips tightly, without saying a word of nonsense, and directly struck at this person, punching to the flesh. The cold room was full of flesh and blood. Hit sound with the strengthening of the dark energy armor. The strength of each of his punches was astonishing to the extreme. The man didn't understand what happened, so he was beaten and paralyzed. A large part of his chest collapsed, and his face was deformed. He collapsed on the ground, staring at Su-Ran, as if he wanted to cry for help, but only blood gushed out of his mouth. Such an injury, even if sent to the hospital in time before the apocalypse, it is difficult to recover, let alone such an apocalypse. Therefore, Su-Ran didn't kill him directly, but threw him here, who was immobile and dying, so that this scum could slowly experience the pain of dying a little bit here. Chapter 66 Siblings. The area of Ice City University is quite large. There are many survivors, and the number of black beetles is also quite large, but today is different from the past. Ice City has completely changed hands. Under the control of the insect nest, every black beetle has entered the nest. The bioinformation network of the city branch, the black beetle, is a huge spider web. As long as a spider silk is slightly touched, it can cause the spider and the whole web to vibrate. Therefore, in this situation, Su-Ran's actions could only be cautious and cautious. After one day, he hunted and killed 15 black beetles. At the end of this day, Su-Ran really realized that there are quite a few survivors in this school. These students and teachers do not have strong force. In name, they are all hiding in the campus together, but in fact they are scattered in various places on the campus. In some places, there may be a teacher sitting in the town, and a small group of people gather together, but in some places, there is only one person hiding alone among them. There are even some people who are too timid and finally found a safe place, so they dare not leave no matter what, and hide for several days. Suran met a student who was hiding in a corner. He didn't know how long he had been hiding. When Suran touched him lightly, that person's body fell to one side, and he was already dead. I know whether I starved to death, or I scared myself to death. Some people live bravely, some people live nourishingly, some people live in hardship, some people live in misery. In this era, if a wrong choice is made, a person may die, either encountering a monster and being killed, or killing himself. Whether it is before the end of the world or after the end of the world, what determines whether people live well or not is actually their own character and choices. The sky was getting dark. Suran also quietly retreated from the University City area, and returned along the street, choosing remote paths along the way. The sky had been gloomy all day, and at this time, misty drizzle finally fell. Adding another gloom and coldness to this gloomy city, and mixed in the rain, came from the far end of the city, the faint sound of gunshots and the howls of various monsters. At the end of the northern city, huge insect nests stretched across like mountains, looking majestic and magnificent. This end of the day city, in this rain, is even more chilling. Fortunately, where Suran is now, the hypermarket and Bingchang University are located relatively far away, and there is no big bug swarm for the time being. After a day, it can barely be regarded as safe and sound. Suran was retreating quietly, and at the same time, in the corner of Bingchang University, Lin Kinkyo was also looking up at the drizzle in the sky. Her eyes seemed a little worried. She is a junior student at Bingchang University. It stands to reason that she should retire from the student union when the new term changes today. Overnight, everything in her life was filled with the word survival. In the rainy sky, one or two migratory locusts roared past from time to time. These monsters are cruising back and forth in the sky, searching for survivors everywhere. The movements of these bugs are getting bigger and bigger. Thinking of Suran's reminder today, the girl bit her lips and thought, tomorrow, give up Bingchang University and move to another place to hide. It's not that she didn't listen to Suran's words. In fact, Suran has been away for a long time, and she regrets it. She saved the people on her side, and kindly reminded her that she couldn't control her temper. I'm so sorry. However, her temperament is like this, hot and straight-tempered. But the evacuation is not that simple. There are at least 1,000 students scattered in this university city, and the branches are hiding in various places. Everyone has their own ideas and small things. Some people may agree to evacuate, and some people are deeply trapped in a comfortable environment. They don't even want to leave at all, and the latter are definitely the vast majority. Otherwise, how could they hide here for such a long time? Therefore, it is extremely difficult to complete the retreat of the students of Bingchang University. At this moment, a young man came up from behind, looked at his features and eyes somewhat similar to Lin Kinkyo, brought up a piece of clothing, put it on Lin Kinkyo, and said, "Sister, I heard that you are looking good today." Molested by an awakened person, this person is Lin Kinkyo's younger brother, Lin Su. The two are in the same university, but Lin Kinkyo is already a junior who is about to graduate, and Lin Su is only a sophomore. Lin Kinkyo said, Go, who did you listen to? What kind of teasing? It's because your sister has a bad temper. She didn't talk to her properly, she drove her away, and she saved us, but I'm still pissing her off. It's so rude. Don't talk nonsense, and don't let others talk nonsense. If you see that person next time, you have to talk about it, not only to apologize, but also to thank him after offending someone and then going back to apologize. How often do you do this kind of thing? Don't worry, your brother's EQ is much higher than yours. Lin Su snorted, you have to change your temper. Most people would think you are an awakened person when you look like this, but who would know that you are a big fool with a knife mouth and a bean-curd heart? TCH, mother-in-law, dare to say that your sister and I are a big fool. I'm tired of you. Lin Kinkyo tilted her head and glanced at her cheap brother, and said, by the way, what do you think this is? As she said that, Lin Kinkyo took out a bag of small fish intestines from her pocket like changing flowers, and said with a smile, I found this in a dormitory today. It hasn't expired. Here, quietly, don't tell someone. Lin Su frowned and said, Sister, let me tell you, you are the leader of our group of college students, and we are now in a time of trouble together. Isn't it good for you to be like this? Lin Kinkyo smiled and stretched out her hand, rubbed her younger brother's head, and said, Silly brother, I want to lead everyone to live together, but I also have selfish intentions. Take it and don't tell others. But Lin Su shook his head and said, I can't ask for this, sister. Everyone trusts you now. You can't act like this for personal gain. I'm going back. Lin Kinkyo was a little annoyed by what she said. She waved the snacks in her hand and yelled in a low voice, what kind of fake public benefit is not fake public benefit? Really, I am helping the teacher and everyone. Do you think your sister is the savior? What about your sister and me? Do you have that ability? Our parents are not around. Even if I die, I have to make sure you are fed and clothed, you know? Compared to this, the status of the awakened person or the position of the student union is not important. Lin Kinkyo is famous for her fiery temper. Others are afraid of her, but Lin Su doesn't seem to be interested in it, so he snorted twice, said cut, and said, hold down, be careful to lure the monsters away. Come. After speaking, Lin Su put his hands in his pockets and left on his own. Hey. Who are you cutting, big or small? You guy, really? Lin Kinkyo behind her looked angry seeing the back of her silly brother disappear on the other side. She sighed a long time, muttered and cursed in a low voice, what a silly brother, you can't tell good from bad, and you talk about benevolence and morality. Dimensional hero, in this world, how many people can have no selfishness? Lin Kinkyo was depressed for a while, touched her still hungry stomach, opened her intestines, and started to eat. After she ate too, she pondered for a moment, then stood up and walked into the back room, planning to talk to their teacher about the next step. Chapter 67. JN number 039, S. Careful Thoughts. When Su Ran returned to the hypermarket, the sky was getting dark, but he happened to run into a group of soldiers from Yukijin who also went out to search for supplies. Yukijin seemed a little worried. Those bugs are pulling their nets to search for human beings. Under such circumstances, it is only a matter of time before they come to our place. As long as a black beetle comes here, it will definitely find us gathered here. A large number of survivors. When the time comes, a huge swarm of insects will surely sweep in. Of course Su Ran knew what Yukijin meant at this time. They are betting on luck in the last life. There were not many survivors hiding here. Even if 1 or 2 black beetles came, it would not matter, but now it is different. There are hundreds of people gathered here. If the black beetles find out, the situation will be bad. But Su Ran wasn't really worried. In the last days, there is no real safe place, especially now that the Zerg have taken over the control of Ice City. It is already very good to have a place to hide. The long-term safe place has ceased to exist after the military was defeated. The Ice City was gloomy in the night. Seeing Su Ran came back, Lu Da wanted to come up and try to make a fool of him. This man seemed to be a well-rounded figure before the end of the world. After a day, he often inquired about Su Ran's origin among the survivors. After hearing all kinds of things about Su Ran, he became more and more frightened and wanted to build a relationship. In case the black beetle came to kill him, he could use his strength to come up and rubbed his hands and smiled. Su Ran, that's not right, Mr. Su, yesterday's, don't you like it? If you are not satisfied, come and sit with me, I have all types, you may like it. Su Ran took a look at this guy, and said angrily, I like the big star Liu Fifei, you find her for me only. Then did Lu Da show embarrassment. After thinking for a while, he said, Su Ran, don't get me wrong. We have changed it now. I also paid her a box of instant noodles yesterday. It's just, my bag. The instant noodles were given for nothing. As he said that, Lu Da glanced at Su Ran cautiously, as if to say, you confiscated the woman I sent, and made me lose a pack of instant noodles for nothing. This Su Ran heard about it. After being beaten, Chenru's group, who had been arrogant before, became completely honest. They obeyed Yukijin's control and did not dare to breathe. Su Ran shook her head and said, okay, you have time to think about this. Why don't you eat more and sleep more, so that when the bugs come, you will have the energy to escape. Saying that, Su ran directly past Lu Da and walked away. Lu Da ate the ashes from his nose, so he could only shrink back obediently. Even so, Su Ran had no choice but to stop. A lot of people were staring at him. During the time that Su Ran didn't know, his reputation was spreading among the survivors at the speed of light. Regardless of the survivors who were rooted in this hypermarket, they spread all kinds of stories about Su Ran in one day, and the more they spread, the more exaggerated they became. An ignorant child even ran out, grabbed Su Ran's trousers, and asked cutely, "Uncle, are you a messenger sent by the true God?" Su Ran had a question mark on his face. At this time, the child's parents ran out from behind in a hurry, gave Su Ran an apologetic smile. and carried their child to the back. Su Ran could tell that the parent also wanted to talk to him, but he didn't seem to be that kind. This kind of situation made Su Ran feel a little guilty. He pulled a gentleman from the corner and asked, "What's going on? How did I become a messenger sent by the true God?" That gentleman was quite normal, not someone who spread rumors, and said with a smile, "Mr. Su, this is someone from the Holy Order trying to deceive you with your name, but don't worry about it. Come down this time." Everyone is indeed terrified. In fact, many people understand that where is the true God? How could there be a messenger of the true God? It's just that in the current situation, if you don't believe it, you want to believe something, and find some comfort. This person's words are still very pertinent. In this era, especially in Huaguo, there are few people who really believe in anything. At this time, they suddenly believe in it, just to find peace of mind. Speaking of this, the man straightened his expression, stepped back half a step, and bowed to Su Ran. Is surprised. Su Ran, what are you doing? The messenger of the true God is a fake, but everyone respects you very much? This is true, or respect is not appropriate. Everyone likes you very much, and I also escaped with you all the way. I was besieged by insect swarms before. At that time, I thought I was going to die, and it was your soldiers who blazed a trail of blood, so I will always thank you face to face. The gentleman smiled slightly and said, "Besides, I also want to get close to you." What this guy said earlier made Su Ran a little embarrassed, but when he turned to the second half of the sentence, the corners of Su Ran's mouth also twitched. Su Ran felt that this person was a bit different, and said, "Then let's get close. I'm Su Ran. What's your surname?" Yuan Licheng. Su Ran nodded, and he also knew that what Yuan Licheng said was only part of the situation, and some people were more curious about Su Ran. For example, how did he get such a black technology aircraft? Who the hell is he? Is it from the military or not? And the best solution to this is to stay away from the public. Su Ran didn't have time to mingle with the survivors here. Although it was possible, it wasn't necessary. In order to ensure the safety of the survivors and facilitate their escape, Yukijin placed the survivors on the ground floor and the first floor. As long as Su Ran hides above, it will be difficult for anyone to find him, let alone carry out such a close relationship. Operated Yukijin and the few remaining fighters are redistributing supplies with the cooperation of Luda, and distribute food and necessities to the survivors regularly and quantitatively according to the share of 2 meals a day. In the last days, everyone panics and everyone fears, but only these soldiers must still stick to their posts and not panic or fear. Looking at their busy figures, people sometimes feel sad and desolate, but Yukijin couldn't think so much. While integrating and relocating the survivors, he was also calling other allies through the encrypted channel, hoping to pull some powerful survival battles for himself and Su Ran's crazy plans. Strength. The sky was dark, but Su Ran still found a corner upstairs, intending to have a solid sleep. It is very necessary to recharge your batteries. Chapter 68. IN number 039, I'm going to kill insects. However, it seemed that Su Ran was destined not to have a good night's sleep, so he was about to sleep in a daze when he noticed someone approaching. Su Ran was startled, sat up suddenly, grabbed the gun with one hand, looked intently, and saw a figure walking from the darkness. Su Ran was taken aback, and thought, "No, whoever sent me a woman here? No matter how determined I am, I can't withstand 2 rounds of fierce attacks." However, it turned out that Su Ran was thinking too much. Where did she come from? A beautiful woman, but a handsome man. That person is none other than Chen Ru, the unlucky little idol who received 2 punches from Su Ran a few days ago. Su Ran saw clearly that it was this guy, and she frowned. She didn't know why, and said suddenly, "Why are you? How did you find me here, Chen Rudeo?" They're all in the same building. It's hard, but not difficult, to find someone. Su Ran, are you playing charades with me? Of course not. Chen Ru shook his head, turned on the flashlight, sat down beside Su Ran, and said, "I won't talk about the previous things, but I think there may be a misunderstanding between us. I admit, his behavior style is not quite right, but in this day and age, who wants to be full of benevolence and morality? That is really scary, right? Everyone has their own way of making a living, but we are all together now. I thought, we are awakened, and we need to take care of each other in the future. How about making friends and having a drink in the last days?" After speaking, Chen Ru took out the 2 small bottles of liquor he brought. Su Ran didn't expect Chen Ru to say such a thing, so he couldn't help but look at him more. Although this little idol is smug, he doesn't seem to be that kind of idiot. Su Ran also smiled slightly, and said, "You're right, in the last days, we are all human beings, we can be friends, Why should we be strangers or even hostile? Chenru boldly said. Okay, we two brothers will get drunk and rest. Su ran. That's not okay. You're so drunk at this time. You don't want to live anymore. The two of them simply drank a couple of sips, thought about it, and then Chenru left. Su ran covered himself with a blanket and thought for a long time, but was still a little depressed. As for what he is depressed about, maybe only God knows. And the next day, a black beetle appeared outside the mall. It was a single-handed black beetle. Sniffing left and right, it seemed to be looking for traces of survivors. It approached this way little by little. Many people in the hypermarket became nervous about it. Xianzi even rushed out. Take the initiative to lure this black beetle away, but at this moment, as if the black beetle had heard some kind of call, it suddenly let out a sharp hiss, turned around instantly, and rushed in another direction. Su ran raised his head in the direction that the black beetle was heading for, and saw a dark cloud of locusts gathered in the distant sky, which was huge and terrifying. And that direction, if Su ran remembered correctly, was the location of Bingchang University. Those students, didn't you listen to yourself? Su ran stared at the dark cloud for a moment, picked up his dark energy hunting gun, put on his dark energy armor, and went downstairs. This close siege may be an opportunity for him. This group of war insects encircled and suppressed the students of Bingchang University. Was his opportunity to quickly accumulate resource points. Taking advantage of the timing of the insect nest encirclement and suppression, he might be able to quickly accumulate a batch of resource points without attracting the attention of the insect nest. If not, according to the accumulation efficiency of the resource points yesterday, I don't know how long it will take to get the number of resource points I need today. Half of the shipbuilding process has passed, and now one more resource point is obtained, which is one more wartime supply. But downstairs, Su ran saw that many soldiers were very silent, and Yikijin was sitting in the corner of the first floor. Not a word. The swarm of insects swept across and the locusts hovered. Everyone knew that it meant that there were a large number of survivors in that location. As a soldier, it was his responsibility to rescue the survivors, but he couldn't choose that way now. In Yukijin's hands, he no longer has so much power to save people. Su ran walked past him silently, patted the company commander on the shoulder, and said, I'll go there, you stay here. Yukijin was a little surprised. Are you going alone? What are you doing? Su ran smiled, and immediately said murderously, I'm going to kill the insects. Yikijin glanced at Su ran in surprise, then seemed to think of something else, didn't say anything more, handed Su ran a cigarette, and joked, it doesn't matter if you die, but don't bring the black beetle back. Su ran laughed, but Yikijin straightened his expression slightly, and said, if there is anyone who can give you a hand, just give him a hand, just treat it as I owe you a favor. Su ran took a deep look at him, nodded, said nothing, and walked out. The black beetles, slaughterers, and migratory locusts in this area are all gathering in the direction of Bingchang University. Su ran started from the hypermarket and approached the direction of Bingchang University. He hunted and killed several black beetles along the way, but also caused noticing the attention of the black beetles. A group of black beetles separated directly from the main force and ran all the way to find Su ran's location. However, with the enhancement of the dark energy armor, Su ran's movement speed and action power are even far higher than these black beetles, and Su ran has already gone far when they came to kill them. Wherever Su ran went, the group of black beetles chased him, but they couldn't catch up all the way, always one step behind Su ran along the way. Su ran also approached the direction of Bingchang University. It was clearly daytime at this time, but the sky was already gloomy. It was the swarm of migratory locusts that shrouded the sky of this institution of higher learning like dark clouds, covering the sky. Survivors in the university city are breaking out from several directions, but with little effect. Black beetles and migratory locusts have formed a lower formation in the sky and on the ground. When Su ran came, he saw a group of college students fleeing in a car in panic. Before they could escape halfway, they were knocked over by black beetles, and then, the locust swarms in the sky, like vultures preying on food, flew down from the sky densely, tearing up the overturned vehicles, pulling out the people inside one by one, and separating them from each other. Each living person, was torn into several halves when he was alive, and blood splattered. There was a college student who had his stomach ripped open, but was still struggling to stay alive. He managed to crawl out of the swarm of locusts sharing the food, but his head was trampled to the ground by a black beetle. This is the most common scene in this era of catastrophe. Seeing this scene, Su ran felt uncomfortable, but Su ran knew what he was doing here. He avoided the frontal strangling chaos and went around to the side of the university city. There was no door in this direction, and few survivors would run this way. There were not many black beetles, so it happened to be Su-ran came to accumulate resource points while hunting and killing black beetles. Su-ran was also moving at a high speed, seeking wealth and danger. While he was killing insects here, he must have been caught by the insect nest. Those insects were also looking for Su-ran's location. Shooting a shot to change positions is a tactic that was developed by the Chinese nation during the anti-Japanese war, and it is still effective against black beetles at this time of course. If you want to do this, you must first have a dark energy armor, which can run faster than the black beetle. However, this is Su-ran's tactic, insignificant development, changing places with one shot. What can you do to me? However, at this moment, Su-ran switched positions again, and saw a group of college students stumbling towards this side. The first one was the senior sister named Lin Kinkyo who she met yesterday, Awakening Bai. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 The Burning University. Lin Kinkyo was holding the hand of her younger brother tightly, running at the head of the survivors. There is only one thought in her mind: let her brother live. She chose a breakout direction that few would have taken. It's where there is a fence. Ordinary survivors don't choose this direction to break through. The reason is very simple, because they don't have time to climb the fence. Lin Kinkyo is different. She led her group of people across the green belt. When she came here, she stretched out her hand, and flames gushed out of her hand in an instant. Within a few seconds, an iron grid was burned, and she took out a prepared crowbar, inserted it into it and pried it hard. In an instant, a piece of the iron fence at this position was removed and Lin Kinkyo was a little anxious. This force left her hands with bloodstains. Lin Su glanced at it and couldn't help shouting, "Sister!" And at this moment, on their side, a sharp hissing sound suddenly sounded. Everyone turned their heads in shock, and saw a black beetle slowly approaching from the other side. With the appearance of the first black beetle, the second, third, and fourth, a large number of black beetles are coming from all directions. Seeing this scene, Lin Kinkyo's lips trembled slightly at this moment. She finally let go of Lin Su's hand, which was tightly clenched, and said, "Go, you guys go, my queen." Hearing these words, Lin Su and Xiao Hengyang all changed their colors. What do you want to do? But there were also a few people who didn't care about the situation at all, just went through the gap and fled to the outside. Lin Kinkyo only roared angrily, "Let's go." The answer is actually very simple. Lin Kinkyo wants to break the queen in this case, only she has the ability to stop these black beetles. She wanted her brother to live, and she had to die by herself under such a situation. Xiao Hengyang's group had already panicked, but Lin Kinkyo's roar made them all frightened. Turned their heads and ran out. Only Lin Su was still standing where he was, looking at his sister. He was dumbfounded. Lin Kinkyo smiled at him, took out a lot of messy snacks from her clothes, stuffed them into Lin Su's clothes, and said, "This is all embezzled by your sister. Save yourself some food, bratty brother, run." Lin Su stumbled and was pushed out by Lin Kinkyo, followed by a group of survivors, and ran out of the school. But Lin Kinkyo turned her head. Flames jumped out from her palm, blocking the impacting black beetles, and the entire green belt was ignited. She stood in the flames, turned her head, and was seeing Lin Su. They had already ran out for more than 10 meters, but at this moment, another black beetle came out from outside, chasing and killing Lin Su and others. Seeing this scene, Lin Kinkyo's heart tightened slightly. However, for some unknown reason, the black beetle was only halfway through the charge when its head exploded suddenly, as if it was blown away by some sniper rifle. Someone was helping them. Lin Kinkyo saw this scene, stood in the firelight, and finally laughed again. This time, he should be able to escape, right? However, at the next moment, her smile froze because at that moment, a dazzling light fell from the sky, fell among Lin Su's group of survivors, and exploded instantly. The light swallowed everything in an instant, and the shock wave swept away, and the fragile iron bars of the university city shook violently, as if they were about to be uprooted. And then, with a howling wind, shadows fell from the sky. It was a skywatcher. It came with a gust of wind, and fell on the messy slaughterhouse. It spread its wings and cast a shadow, as if it wanted to engulf the school. It looked up to the sky and let out a sharp whistle that seemed to be able to pierce eardrums. The vegetation rolled wildly, and the flames on the green belt were a little weaker. Lin Kinkeo's body was thrown out and hit the ground with the arrival of the Sky Watchers. The black beetles and migratory locusts on both sides retreated one after another, and no one paid attention to the only survivor who survived, and the huge monster only raised its head and howled. Without even seeing a fallen woman on the ground, Lin Kinkeo only felt a buzzing sound in her head, and suddenly there was nothing left. Only madness and hatred filled everything in her world. Her eyes were instantly blood red, and she struggled to stand up, ignoring with blood all over his hands and face. He frantically ran towards the monster, and uttered a heart-piercing cry against the strong wind and howling. "I'm going to kill you." The Sky Watcher didn't even glance at the ground from the beginning to the end. It only vibrates its wings under the sky, rises up from the ground in a storm, rolls up the air filled with locusts, and descends on the University of Bingchang, and the woman was brought down by the strong wind, and black beetles rushed from all directions, completely engulfing her into the boundless black tide. And at this moment, a figure quickly rushed out from the side, dragged the girl, and forcefully took her away from the battlefield. There were 7 sky surveyors who took off before and after. The first one was shot down by the military on the bank of the Sunhua River, and the remaining 6. 3 of them rushed outside the Ice City, and only 3 remained in the Ice City. But at this moment, they are well-deserved overlords, and wherever they appear, it means absolute destruction. Bingchang University is being overwhelmed by dark clouds. In the past 2 days, the number of migratory locusts lost in large numbers is also increasing again. Su Ran was retreating quietly. The Sky Watchers have arrived, and it would be risky for Su Ran to stay here any longer. And looking at the scene just now, Su Ran was also silent for a while. Maybe he and that girl had some slight unhappiness, but the extermination of the family and the outrageous hatred are the same for everyone. Su Ran looked at these people, seeing the madness and despair of that girl, and felt uncomfortable, but he would not take the risk to save people, and secretly shooting cold guns was the limit he could accept. Su Ran backed away, but saw 1 or 2 college students fleeing in a panic on the road. Su Ran still gave them a hand, and brought the scattered people back to the hypermarket. The mentality of those college students was very broken. One girl was even crying bitterly, "They're all dead, they're all dead." When he returned to the hypermarket, it was already dark. Su Ran handed Lin Kinkeo over to Yukijin, while he returned to his corner, smashed resource points one by one, and began to build the war resources he needed. However, at midnight on this day, a large group of survivors came running from outside the hypermarket, and hid here. But behind them, a group of black beetles followed closely. Yukijin organized his men and defeated this small army of 7 black beetles head-on, but Yukijin was not happy because it meant that they were completely exposed. Chapter 70. A large number of survivors poured in, and the hypermarket was slightly chaotic at this time. It was Lu Da who took the initiative to stand up and guide these survivors together with Chen Ru, helping to reduce the pressure on the seriously downside military. These 2 people are not fools. They may have been a little arrogant before, but that's because they have their own force and manpower. Monsters can't beat them, can't they bully people? But when the 2 realized that Su Ran and his group were not something they could bully, they immediately changed their attitudes and offered to help. Lu Da's subordinate still didn't understand, so they came up and asked, "Brother Da, why are we so eager to help them?" Lu Da looked at the crowd pouring into the hypermarket, shook his head, and said, "We are not helping them, but ourselves. In the current situation in Bingcheng, it is dangerous to hide anywhere. If these soldiers can survive, get out, we can leave alive. Tell the big guys, cheer up." At the same moment, Yi Kijin was rushing through the first floor and came to the nominal command center they had temporarily built in the hypermarket. Li Shunchang was sitting here. His leg was injured and he was unable to move, so Yi Kijin forced him to hold him here, and was responsible for contacting the troops at all levels. Seeing Yi Kijin approaching, Li Shunchang said, "Company commander, this situation is not good. I took a look just now. There are at least 100 survivors in the new batch of survivors, but the problem is that they brought 7 black beetles. Under the nest system, these bugs have each other. Biological network, it doesn't matter if these 7 black beetles die here or not. The moment they discover that there are a large number of survivors gathered here, we are already in danger." Yukijin's expression was cold, and at this moment he thinking of the scenes in the city that were surrounded and suppressed by heaven and earth in the past 2 days. He took a deep breath and said, "These are all things to come. Have you contacted the brothers from other troops?" Li Shunchang shook his head, nodded again, and said complicatedly, "The communication has been intermittent. It has been 2 days. Now, the only ones who can be contacted and confirmed are still there are Captain Chen Donglian and Company Commander Lin Zhen. The interference is too strong, and, Even if we get in touch, they don't agree with your plan to counterattack the worm's nest. Company commander, they all think you're crazy. Yi Kijin didn't respond to this sentence, and asked, where are the college students that Su Ran brought back? Li Shunchang said, the condition is not very good. I found a doctor among the survivors to check their condition, but that doctor is from the urology department and doesn't know much about psychological counseling. It has been delayed for so long you can find them. What are you doing? Yi Kijin said, these people are the first-hand witnesses of the siege by the swarms. I want to know the specific situation before and after the siege by the swarms. Li Shunchang said, okay, they are placed in the next compartment. Anyway, now we lack everything. There is no shortage of places to place people. Yi Kijin nodded, arrange a group of people to check out the surrounding situation. After saying these words, he turned his head and walked out the door, suddenly remembered something, pulled a soldier who had just run back from the store, and asked, Xiao Liu, have you seen Su Ran? The soldier was stunned for a moment before replying, Commander, are you looking for Su Ran? I really saw him just now. He seems to go out. What is he doing out now? Yi Kijin gasped and said, this guy is really brave. The reason why Su Ran went out at this time is actually very simple. The corpse of the seven-headed black beetle was lying outside. To others, it might be the corpse of a terrifying and hideous monster, but to Su Ran, it was a waste of resources. Don't be in vain. Su Ran trotted all the way out of the store to collect the corpse. This scene happened to be seen by Luda, who organized the survivors behind, and he was frightened for a while. Why did he go out? According to Ruda, Su Ran is simply a mysterious character. He is powerful and courageous. Not only that, he is not moved by the woman he sent, and in this situation, he dares to run out on his own initiative. Luda even felt that Su Ran's various behaviors were beyond his guess. Su Ran didn't know that when he went out to collect a bug corpse, many people would think wildly and panic. But he was very happy. Although he can also kill insects himself, how can he be as happy as picking up insects on the ground for nothing? This is the difference between making money and picking up money on the road. He worked hard to earn thousands of dollars a month, and he didn't feel happy when he occasionally picked up the old man Zhang Hong on the main road. However, the advent of the era of mobile payment has made it less and less common to find money on the road. Although Su Ran has been in the apocalypse for 3 years, she still has the mentality of a petty citizen. Yi Kijin became nervous when the black beetle appeared outside the hypermarket, but Su Ran was not so nervous in the past 3 years of the end of the world. He has experienced countless times of siege and suppression by insect swarms, and his mental quality has long been cultivated. Moreover, his inland destroyer is already counting down to its creation, and all kinds of war resources are almost ready. Under the second-level state, Su Ran can start 5 manufacturing processes in the system at the same time. So, although the system has been in the process of manufacturing inland destroyers, the manufacture of various weapons and ammunition has not been delayed. Moreover, when his battleship takes off, it may not be possible for anyone to encircle and suppress anyone. When Su Ran came back, he also ran into Li Yilan. The awakened girl was also patrolling the hypermarket with the girls in Yu, but these two people, one big and one small, walked in the hypermarket holding hands, but they didn't look like patrolling people. Su Ran couldn't help but spit out, you don't look like you are on patrol, it's like shopping for clothes. Li Yilan, girls in Yu, take it with me. Li Yilan shook her head with a smile, and said, I know you made a promise with her mother, but girls still want girls to be together. Don't worry, I will protect the safety of this girl. There is no one around me, and I may not know who I am. Why are you trying to survive? Su Ran was a little silent when he said this. Li Yilan smiled slightly, and said, by the way, I heard that company commander Yi is looking for you, so go and have a look. Be careful. Su Ran nodded and walked forward. When Su Ran left, Li Yilan showed a relieved expression. Xin Yu looked up at Li Yilan, thought for a while, and asked, Sister Yilan, why are you always so nervous when you see him? I didn't. How could I? When did I get nervous? When I saw him. Li Yilan showed a panicked expression like a cat whose tail has been stepped on. Xin Yu stared at Li Yilan for a while, then asked sharply, Sister Yilan, you have a crush on him, right? What? What are you talking about? Little girl, you, me. This time, Li Yilan was not only panicked, but her face was all red. Chapter 71 Final Mobilization. When Su Ran came over, Yi Kijin was talking with a female college student in a private room about the encirclement and suppression of Bingchang University. The female college student had just learned the worst lesson in her life there, so it was actually a bit inhumane. But Yukijin had no choice. Suran actually felt a little regretful about the matter of Bingchang University at that time. He had persuaded him twice, but unfortunately, these people obviously did not listen to his words in the last days. Everyone has their own ideas and judgments, so who can persuade whom? Moreover, if he hadn't experienced it himself, who would have thought that in just 2 days, the situation in the Ice City would have undergone such a big change? In fact, at that time Lincoln Kyo had already planned to persuade everyone to transfer, but they were still one step too late. Yukijin sighed, and said to the female college student, "Take a good rest." However, he stood up and was about to go out to chat with Suran, but at this time, the female college student with a somewhat blank expression suddenly stood up and said, "Can you kill those bugs? We can definitely kill them all, right? We can definitely make them pay for their blood, right?" At this moment, a gleam of color suddenly appeared in the ashen eyes of the female college student, but it was the light of hatred and bloodthirsty. Yukijin said, "You should rest well first. There will be a day when we will chase them all, but the premise of all this is that you have to work hard to live until that day, in order to see the future you want to see." Yukijin and Suran withdrew, and Yukijin said, "I just got the news that the security fighters around us found that groups of small black beetles have appeared from several directions, but they haven't emerged yet. Their role should be to stop us from fleeing and buy time for the real encirclement and suppression troops to arrive." However, the large swarm of insects came over very quickly. I just asked Lincoln Kyo. It took a while for them to be attacked, but considering that the attack on Bingchang University, the worm swarm was dispatched from the inside of the Ice City. It took a lot of time to attack and assemble, but now, the army of the worm swarm is at the University of Ice City, and came to us from the University of Ice City. Considering the possible scheduling and priority of the swarm, half an hour at the latest, the swarm will definitely kill here. Suran glanced at Yukijin and said, "What's your plan, in such a situation? Where's there any plan?" Yukijin said, "If it was before, in such a situation, I would definitely break out now, no matter if I can escape or not. One life is one life, but I don't need me to tell you, in the current situation, 500 or 600 people here have been targeted, and the possibility of running away is very small. Even if they survive, there will not be many people alive. So, your plan, can you make it now?" Yukijin said a lot, but only the last words showed his attitude. He also didn't want to run away. He wanted to join Suran in fighting back against the insect nest. Suran shook her head, nodded again, and stretched out a finger. 1 hour, to be exact. I still need 57 minutes. As I told you before, I can get the critical force. Suran's words are actually very ambiguous. What is the most critical force? Why wait an hour to get it? How can I get it in this situation? However, Yukijin didn't seem to be confused by this. He remembered the negotiation between him and Suran that no one knew the content of when he first came to this hypermarket. After a moment of silence, he confirmed, 1 hour, are you sure? Suran nodded, I'm sure there are still 57 minutes to complete the construction of the inland destroyer. Okay. Yukijin let out a long breath, and said, okay, Suran, I'll go crazy with you. Everyone's life here is in our hands. And at this moment, on the other side, a soldier hurried over and said, Commander, a small group of black beetles has launched a tentative attack on us. Yukijin glanced at Suran, and said in a deep voice, I'll help you fight for this hour. After speaking, this company commander didn't say anything to Suran anymore, and walked straight forward with the little soldier, to the forefront of the front line here. The survivors were fully retreating and hiding underground, while the remaining soldiers in the company were rushing forward and lined up in front of Yukijin. Li Shuncheng patted Yukijin on the shoulder and said, Company commander, let's do a pre-war mobilization. Yukijin stood here, facing his brothers and comrades in arms, and raised his voice, Brothers, the bug swarm is about to come up. I won't talk nonsense. Everyone has seen the current situation. The Ice City is like this. We have no way out. This hypermarket will be our last line of defense, but it's not the final battle, because I have a crazy plan here. As long as we can hold here for an hour, we will have a chance to blow up the entire Ice City insect nest. I know that you may all think that you have heard it wrong. We are trapped in the corner of the city, but we want to blow up the nest. Isn't it crazy? Yes, this is indeed crazy, but we can only go crazy, because now, retreat is death, advance is death. We are soldiers, warriors with guns. I think no one is willing to retreat to die in a bloody battle, attack and die. That should be our destination. I need your unconditional obedience and support. Those bugs outside look hideous and terrifying, but since they can fight us back and forth, it proves that they don't need us to be advanced and powerful. Now, hold the steel guns in your hands and tell me loudly, do you want to die on the way to escape, or die on the way to attack? In the last sentence, Yukijin's voice has also turned into a roar and growl, with blue veins popping up, and those soldiers looked at each other. At first, these soldiers were still talking in a low voice, talking a lot, but later, the eyes of these soldiers gradually became firm. Company commander, we listened to you. No one asked why, no one asked what the plan was. The road has come here, and it is meaningless to ask any more questions. They're fighting side by side all the way before is the answer to all questions. Yukijin put his hands behind his back and said loudly, years ago, when we joined the army, we were told that our natural responsibility was to defend the motherland and the people, but now, the land under our feet is being violated, and the people behind us are facing dangerous. Today is the time for us to fulfill our responsibilities. I ask you all to join me in holding the line of defense, never back down, and fight to the death, a bloody battle to the death. A bloody battle to the death. The warriors displayed here responded with a thunderous cry at this moment on the dark first floor of the hypermarket. The sound shook the earth, and the survivors in the entire building turned their heads at this moment, as if they could see the boiling fighting spirit in the third floor window of the hypermarket. Listening to the battle roar below, Su-Ran is setting up his dark energy hunting gun, aiming at the first batch of testing black beetles sporadically coming outside the hypermarket. It's on the trigger. Chapter 72, IN number 039, Dear rather die than back down. Yukijin divided his soldiers into 4 groups, each defending 4 directions. The first batch of black beetles that rushed up were not many, only a dozen or so, and they were killed from the front of the hypermarket. Yukijin led people to set up a bazooka, and fired one at a time. Su-Ran on the upper floor, he had already set up the dark energy hunting gun. Once fired, he would kill a black beetle. Taking precautions, this small group of black beetles were all shot to death in the front square of the hypermarket within a few minutes. The nearest end of the rush is at least 10 meters away from the main entrance of the hypermarket. This time the confrontation was divided into winners and losers, which made everyone feel slightly refreshed. Many survivors who joined in later even pointed at Su-Ran, who was firing on the third floor, and asked in surprise, is that also a soldier from the military? What kind of gun is that? It's so fierce. At this time, a survivor who escaped from the third hospital looked at him and said with contempt, you don't even know him? That's Su-Ran. After saying this, the survivors from the third hospital left, and the survivor who just asked the question was still in a daze. From the tone of his voice, this Su-Ran seemed to be very good, but here comes the question, who is Su-Ran? After the temptation of this group of black beetles, there was a long silence outside the hypermarket. It was very quiet. From every position, one could see black beetles crawling quickly across the corners of streets and buildings, making rustling noises, but they did not launch an attack for a long time. Everyone knows that they are waiting for a large force. Su-Ran glanced at his watch. At this moment, there were still 27 minutes before the completion of his inland destroyer, and at this moment, the first big army of the insect nest finally arrived at the battlefield. It was a swarm of migratory locusts like a dark cloud, leaping across the sky, rushing densely from the direction of Bingchang University. They came faster than Yukijin predicted. The size of migratory locusts is relatively smaller than that of black beetles, and they don't have such a heavy armored shell, but they are flying creatures, and they come in groups from the end of the sky. The heaviness is indescribable. Yukijin is shrinking the formation in an all-round way, and the orders are conveyed from his mouth, and the soldiers outside also start to shrink, relying on the hypermarket as a cover, preparing to shoot the locusts that are about to fly. The swarm of locusts is approaching inch by inch, and at this moment, from the position on the third floor of the hypermarket, a rocket shot out through the air in an instant, hitting the swarm of locusts flying at high speed in the far sky, and a terrifying explosion occurred in an instant. The light flashed in space, and in the front direction, a large number of migratory locusts were shot down in the air, while the rest suddenly exploded like a flock of frightened birds. But they did not want to flee in all directions, but completely dispersed their formation, several directions to kill the hypermarket. Single soldier cloud bomb. Li Shenshen, who limped into the bunker of the hypermarket, said the name of the thing in one go, and realized that it was shot from the hand of Su-Ran on the third floor. He couldn't help but wondered, then the guy still has something like this? Where did he hide it before? Yukijin didn't have the time to pay attention to his adjutant's complaints. He was giving a comprehensive order, shrink the formation and save every bullet. It is difficult for the locust swarm to pose a threat to us hiding in the building in a short time. What we want to intercept is the swarm of insects. Ground troops, As the swarms of migratory locusts entered the battlefield, dense swarms of black beetles gradually appeared from all directions in the hypermarket. The military is shrinking its troops inch by inch, trying to save bullets as much as possible, and at the same time stop the wave of black beetles from advancing. Yi Qijin is an old soldier, and he commanded well. The soldiers under him followed him all the way, and they would no longer have any fear. They were all tigers and wolves. In the first 10 minutes, they formed the front line, abruptly blocked the advance of the black beetle and the locust swarm, but that's only temporary. There are too few combat personnel here, but swarms of locusts and black beetles are pouring in from all directions like mountains and seas. As the black beetles rushing to the front are getting closer and closer to the hypermarket, the battlefield is completely entering at this moment into a white-hot stage. When the black beetle and the slaughterer swarm came up, the overwhelming numbers of these monsters were instantly manifested. More than 70 soldiers may be able to defend one direction desperately, but it is impossible to defend in all directions. Company commander. The black beetle came out from the 9 o'clock direction. Our backs, the slayer. Beware of the slayer. A black beetle even rushed into their battle formation and started killing Yi Qijin. Yi Qijin was going to be killed by it on the spot, but a soldier rushed over from one side desperately, pushed Yi Qijin away, and used his own life withstood the huge black beetle blood. Death. Survivors from the ground were driven up, because slayers poured in from nowhere. The battlefield is falling apart. The defenses of more than 70 soldiers were completely overwhelmed. Black beetles and living people were strangled together. Some of the survivors ran in a panic and were ripped apart by the black beetles on the spot. Blood, stumps, and death constituted a miserable scene of hell on the upper floors. Su Ran is taking advantage of the floor to delay the attack of the locust swarm. A large number of migratory locusts broke in from the outside, and they were dealing with Su Ran. Yi Qijin didn't even have the time to look at his watch anymore. Maintaining the battle situation and running around was the only thing he could do now. He saw the knife foot cut into his comrade's body, and the blood splashed out like a wave of blood. The soldier was covered in blood all over his body, and he was still desperately embracing the knife foot that was cut into his body. Vaguely, consciousness still sends out a desperate battle cry. Yi Qijin felt as if something was pressing on his heart, making him unable to breathe. His eyes were red, and the knuckles of the gun-holding hand turned white. He raised his head, and saw with his blood-red eyes that in the dim battlefield, even though the battlefield had been divided, those soldiers were still fighting with all their strength, maintaining the battered front, and the survivors with all their strength, and would rather die than back down, because these fighters knew that if they took a step back, the already riddled front might collapse in an instant, and those survivors who pointed to their lives would face real desperation. They are the last line of defense between the living and monsters. In the confusion, Li Shuncheng shouted, "Company commander, our last armored vehicle, let's get out, give it a shot." "No, absolutely not. That is our last armored vehicle. If it is destroyed here, it will be over." Yi Qijin gritted his teeth so hard that they rattled, and just at that moment, outside the hypermarket, outside the tragic battlefield where the black beetle swarmed, a sharp scream suddenly sounded. A gust of wind rolled up out of thin air. "That's the Skywatcher coming." Chapter 73. The Launched Ship. The scream of the Skywatcher resounded throughout the sky, and almost at the same moment, Su Ran's voice, which Yi Qijin had been waiting for a long time, finally sounded in the channel at this moment. "Old Yi, it's time for us to play the cards." Although Su Ran hadn't come up with anything that could turn the tide of the battle, hearing such a sentence, Yi Qijin's heart trembled slightly, as if a rush of blood was about to surge up. No matter how bad the situation was just now, Yi Qijin didn't take the initiative to ask Su Ran a word, not only because he knew that Su Ran was also in a bloody battle and Su Ran was waiting, but also because he was willing to trust that person. It is said that in the last days, the trust between people is the weakest, but at the same time, without trust between people, it will be difficult to move forward. Perhaps Yi Qijin had doubted Su Ran's plan before, and even felt that Su Ran was fooling himself, but as he said, retreat means death, and war means death. He has to choose to die in battle, and he chooses to believe in Su Ran. No matter how dangerous or dire the situation is, he will trust him unconditionally, and will not even urge or ask more questions, because the first and most important rule among soldiers is to trust their comrades in arms. Accompanied by Su Ran's voice, Yi Qijin immediately set out to break through. The armored vehicle he had hidden for a long time was finally taken out at this moment, and he was rampaging in the hypermarket. After rushing out of the hypermarket and onto the square outside, the swarm of black beetles moved upon hearing the wind, encircling them from all directions. After a lot of shopping, Whether it was a soldier or a survivor, they all suffered heavy casualties. But at this time, with the appearance of the Sky Watchers, the locust swarms entrenched in the sky moved aside, as if they were courtiers welcoming the arrival of the king. The moment he exited the hypermarket, Yi Kijin saw Skywatcher. That incomparably huge creature was flapping its wings over the sky. Its body with a wingspan of 300 meters floated across the sky, casting a huge shadow on the ground. It hadn't really entered the battlefield yet. The gust of wind it has whimpered everything on the ground, and lighter things even flew directly into the sky. Seeing this scene, people changed color one after another. Even many soldiers changed color suddenly among the crowd. There was even a blood-clothed woman who stumbled out and howled against the wind against the monster that was about to enter the battlefield. Her voice was tragic and desolate, full of hatred and madness. Skywatcher. Come. You kill me. You fucking kill me. Behind, many people looked at the woman slender and sat back, and many people couldn't control their emotions. Some broke down and shouted, and some cried bitterly. However, at this moment, a second earth-shattering loud noise suddenly sounded in the field that came from the hypermarket behind people. At that moment, Yi Kijin turned his head in the hypermarket. Billowing smoke and dust are rising. A huge warship is slowly lifting off from the building of the hypermarket. Su Ran's location is on the 3rd or 4th floor of the hypermarket. He didn't have time to go outdoors, so he just dropped the destroyer inside the hypermarket. That scene was like a butterfly breaking out of its cocoon. But it was even stronger and shocking. The edges and corners of the giant and the black paint were refracting coldly in the flames of the battlefield. As the destroyer slowly rose, the upper 2 floors were forcibly arched open, the dome cracked inch by inch, and smoke and dust rose into the sky, and that huge ship, bathed in smoke and ruins, slowly lifted into the sky. The body of the destroyer is long and narrow, dark and cold. As an air combat platform in the land, its structure is not the streamlined long box type of space battleship, but similar to a fighter plane. Its appearance is like a B-2 enlarged several times stealth bomber. The total length of a pair of wings is nearly 270 meters, and the length of the fuselage is about 80 meters, and has a certain thickness. The whole fuselage is covered with armor, and the whole body is smooth and smooth arms. It is all hidden under the armor plate and will only be open when it is used. At this moment, it is like a real giant butterfly rising domineeringly from here. The huge roar of the anti-gravity engine echoes in the sky, echoing with the sky patrollers whistling in the distance, like its 2 top sky predators, meeting each other at this moment. Seeing this scene, countless people on the ground showed expressions of surprise. Even Yi Kijin swallowed and spit. Su Ran told him about the plan, and also said that there would be a large fighter jet at that time, but what Yi Kijin didn't expect was that the large fighter jet that Su Ran was talking about would be such a giant. Is this thing a nuclear-powered space carrier? Of course, this was Yi Kijin's surprised thought. This inland destroyer is not a sky carrier. Although it uses a small nuclear power furnace, its internal space is limited and can accommodate a large number of living people, but it is impossible to accommodate them. With a large number of fighters, it is even more impossible to realize the takeoff and landing of fighters. In fact, at this time, many people are thinking, how did such a thing suddenly appear from the hypermarket? At this moment, in the sky, the huge destroyer was slowly adjusting its direction, and the armor plate located at the lower front of the destroyer rose layer by layer, revealing the huge black muzzle of one of them. At this moment, in the destroyer, Su Ran was making the final firing adjustments through voice and manual. The main gun is charging. The main gun has been fully charged. The main gun is being calibrated. Calibration complete. The main gun is ready. The interior cabins of the destroyer were trembling slightly, and the heavy roar of the main guns ready to fire could even be heard in the black hole of the muzzle. A dazzling flash of light is shining, and at the end of the sky, the Skywatcher is rapidly stopping and diving from the sky, fluttering its wings into the air, whipping up strong winds, while maintaining the flight. Inch by inch of blue light is shining on its body, and it is about to fire, but it's still a step behind because before its attack was launched, Su Ran had already fired a dazzling beam of energy sprayed out from the muzzle of the battleship's main gun, and the dark red light cast a tragic light on the whole world. The swarms of locusts in the sky fled in panic, and this blow hit the incredible monster in the sky. Skywatcher, like a precise scalpel, pierced and tore the huge monster in the air. On the spot, the huge body was torn apart by the laser scalpel in the air, splashing blood like a spring, and crashed down from the sky, landing on the other side just across the street from the hypermarket, smashing down buildings. Buildings and high-rise buildings collapsed, and the smoke and dust rose up, making an earth-shattering noise. With one blow, this mighty sky surveyor was pierced on the spot and fell into the sky tragically. The ground was trembling, and the migratory locusts all over the sky were retreating in horror in the sky and on the earth. At this moment, there is deathly silence. Ask for collection. Ask for a recommendation ticket. Ask for support. Chapter 74, The Point of the Sword. After the deathly silence, there was loud cheers. The fall of the Sky Witcher even brought tears to many eyes. That incomparable damned monster was finally shot down from the sky, but Su-Ran didn't cheer. He back and forth, invested less than 200 resource points to make war resources. Even with the ammunition and missiles he had left before, he couldn't maintain such a behemoth to fight for too long. He must hurry up and fully implement his plan. The destroyer slowly descended with a roar, and the two groups of short-range guns and machine guns located on both sides of the wing protruded out one after another, and began to shoot at the black beetle swarms on the ground. Slowly open to welcome a large number of survivors and soldiers to board the ship. Yikijin and his armored vehicle were the last to board the destroyer. The semi-enclosed rear compartment of the destroyer was full of people. At this moment, people's emotions are very complicated. God, we survived. We survived? Am I dreaming? Are we hiding in a sky fighter now? How did such a behemoth emerge from the hypermarket? Could it be the dimensional hull of Doraemon? The sky and the earth are full of monsters. Can we fight our way out? Who is the driver? Where is the driver? What are we going to do next? During the whole process, Yikijin has been maintaining communication with Su-Ran. He is currently in the rear warehouse, and there is still a certain distance from the bridge in front. He communicated closely with Su-Ran, reassigned the manpower, let Xianzi lead a group of people, and Li Yilan, an awakened person, to go from the hatch that Su-Ran opened to the front bridge to help him maintain the full power operation of this huge ship. All kinds of fire control systems in the battleship also need to be controlled by soldiers with relevant knowledge, and not only that, the twin turrets of this destroyer are 360-degree turrets, which usually sink under the armor plate of the destroyer and rise from it when needed. When Xianzi came to the bridge, Su-Ran said directly, "Squad Leader Z, I won't be polite in times of emergency. All of your people will be dispatched by me. You, Squad Leader Z, bring an experienced person with you. Follow the guidance of the artificial intelligence level in the ship and go directly to the turret control room, and I will hand over the two heavy guns of my battleship to you." Xianzi and his soldiers were actually a little shocked at this moment. The overall style of this bridge is bright, with a main driving position in the center, separated from the main driving position to the two sides, which are the consoles of each weapon unit, radar module, engine and power module. At first glance, how does this look like the interior of a skyfighter? It's like a smaller version of the command center. Xianzi also has too many problems, but he is a soldier, and he understands the heavy weight behind Su-Ran's words of emergency wartime. So he took his soldiers and made a direct line to Su-Ran with a very standard military salute. He said loudly, "Company Commander Yikijin has handed over the command. Please Commander Su-Ran to dispatch as you like." Although Xianzi always thought that Su-Ran was a special military personnel, he didn't know Su-Ran's real official title. Standing in the destroyer, he only referred to him as the commander. These fighters are all in action. The huge destroyer is also slowly rising from the earth at this moment. Su-Ran, who was sitting in the driver's seat in the center, was also heartbroken watching this scene. There are destroyers, and there are crews. All that's left is to fight across the board. Li Yilan waited for a long time, but didn't see Su-Ran arrange her tasks, so she couldn't help asking, "Su-Ran, what do I want to do?" Su-Ran said, "Take Xinyu and sit in the back." Li Yilan nodded again and again. She thought that Su-Ran would say something more and assign specific tasks to herself, but she didn't expect that. After Su-Ran finished speaking, she immediately turned her head and put on a strange helmet. "Looks like his orders have all been given." Li Yilan opened her mouth with a question mark on her face, thinking, "My task is to sit in the back, okay?" At this time, Su-Ran had already entered the official driving state. The destroyer has a special driving mode. As long as you wear a helmet, everything around the battleship will appear around the driver in the form of a holographic image, providing a wide field of vision and wide angle to the greatest extent. It feels like playing a game. Like virtual reality games, it is a combination of VR technology and AR technology. Regular drivers may not be used to it if they suddenly use this kind of thing, but Su-Ran is a halfway driver, and this mode can make up for his untrained and inexperienced driving shortcomings. At this moment, Su-Ran's destroyer was slowly rising from the ground. The propellers were activated at full power. The 8 missile bays fired at the same time, and the 8 missiles with their long tail flames tore through the sky. A cloud of gorgeous fireworks exploded in the sky immediately afterwards. Su Ran's destroyer pierced through the flames at high speed, roaring in the sky, and aimed directly at the huge insect nest standing in the northern part of the Ice City. At the same moment, in the deepest part of the insect nest in Bichang district, among the airtight stacks of huge tissues and organs with unknown functions like vesicles, a creature with a height of about 5 meters, a dark body, and a body structure similar to a praying mantis slowly rose. Speaking of the head, on the organ that seems to be the head, suddenly opened 32 eyes that are enough to scare the intensive phobia to death. Moreover, the monster's body is densely connected with countless organs like biological pipes, which are densely connected with its body, like a neural network, which makes people's scalp tingle at a glance immediately afterwards. Those 32 pitch-black eyes all began to flicker with strange light at this moment. Not only that, the densely connected biological channels on its body also seemed to transmit information. Bright shine at this moment, a huge amount of information was transmitted from it, reaching every corner of the Ice City, the whole city. Whether it was migratory locusts or black beetles, endless monsters began to surge crazily, like a black tide, chasing the terrestrial fighter plane that came through the sky, and returning to the insect nest at all costs at the same time. There are several channels of information, which are conveyed to unknown places along higher-level circuits. If the code of the Zerg is translated, it will be the physical coordinates of the Zerg in the Ice City, and a series of emergency reports discovered a force higher than that of human civilization. 2 directional detections failed to learn the situation in the opponent's ship. It is suspected that an advanced civilization test product fused with human beings is attacking the mother nest of our first-generation factory number 3176. The enemy ship may carry unknown destructive weapons. Repeat, unknown civilization forces appear on the Earth. There are likely to be other cosmic races on the Earth. Take it extremely seriously. Extremely dangerous. Chapter 75. Destroyers are piercing the sky except for the main guns. The destroyer was firing on the whole line. The locust swarms that hadn't had time to respond in time along the way were pierced in pieces, and they fell into the sky with howling miserably. And pass, like an eagle hitting the sky. Su Ran didn't know at this time that the cautious Zerg had already regarded him as an alien civilization on the spot, or an alien civilization that integrated the Earth's culture and technology. The emergence of any other civilization on Earth is extremely dangerous for the Hive, just as they are extremely dangerous invading races for the Earth and human beings. If another race emerges at this time, if the strength is beyond these alien Zergs, then these alien Zergs that originally invaded the Earth will also become the same, the one that was wiped out like human beings. Therefore, when Su Ran, a spaceship with Earth style technology and a spaceship far surpassing the current technology level of the Earth, appeared, the Ice City worm nest immediately became extremely nervous, like a cat whose tail was trampled on. Human beings are nervous and wary of Zerg, and these bugs are also nervous and wary of other alien civilizations. Just like human beings, now they are invading the Earth in an all-round way. If there is a powerful civilization dormant on the Earth at this point in time, the blow to them can be imagined. Because of this, Su Ran, a battleship suspected of alien civilization technology, is completely unpredictable and extremely dangerous to the worm nest. An ordinary large fighter may not be enough to attract the attention of the worm nest, but a suspected alien warship, the worm nest, dare not ignore it anyway. In this regard, the insect nest gave absolute attention. Scattered in various locations in the city, the migratory locusts besieging the survivors in various places are quickly abandoning their original targets, screaming and rushing into the sky, frantically rushing towards this direction. Intercepting Su Ran's destroyer seen from a distance, strands of black currents rose from every corner of the Ice City, rolling towards the destroyer, flying at high speed like strands of black smoke. And faster than these locust swarms is a sky patroller, which boldly lifted off from the far end of the Ice City, swirled the wind, and swept past a countless black locust swarms rushing to the battlefield, blocking it at all costs to the destroyer rushing to the hive. The insect nest in the Ice City vibrated, and the war insects in the whole city swarmed, returning to defense with all their strength, defending the mother nest. At this moment, not only the insect nest was shocked, but the survivors scattered in every corner of the city were even more shocked to the extreme. In some places, they were even about to be breached by bugs, but at the last moment when they were about to be breached, these bugs retreated in an extremely unreasonable manner. How could this not be shocking? Countless people walked out of their hiding places, climbed to a high place, and looked into the distance. Everyone showed shock. In the sky, the swarm of migratory locusts is turning into a tornado sweeping across the sky, and within their encirclement, A huge fighter plane that has never been seen before is roaring into the sky. In the corner of the city, Chen Donglian, who once refused Yi Qian's request for assistance, walked across a messy battlefield. He watched the black beetles swarming away, and the locust swarm turned back to the defense like crazy. He raised his head in surprise and saw, looking at the picture of the situation in the sky, I was shocked and speechless. A soldier rushed up from behind and confirmed, "It's Company Commander Yi, it's Company Commander Yi." That fighter plane was launched from the direction of Company Commander Yi Qian that we confirmed earlier, but in Shanghai, in just 1 minute, Su Ran's destroyer had already crossed half of the city, and the destroyer was almost on the bank of the Sunhua River, and at this moment, the sky patrollers who rushed from the side finally came to the side of the destroyer. A plasma ball instantly bombarded Su Ran's shield. The entire destroyer was slightly shaken, and immediately afterwards, this behemoth consciously raised its height, avoided the main gun on the front of the destroyer, pressed down from the upper end, and rubbed its sharp claws against the shield. The huge force crushed the entire destroyer and sank, and at this moment, Su Ran began to lower the altitude actively, but from the visual effect and shock, it was as if the Sky Witcher had shot down Su Ran's destroyer. The altitude was lowered, and the destroyer and the Sky Patrol directly plunged into the urban area below, and swept across obliquely, like a blade cutting. The buildings on both sides collapsed with a loud noise, and smoke and dust rose into the sky. That scene was like giant monsters fighting between cities. Wherever they passed, the ground cracked, buildings collapsed, and dust waves rose hundreds of meters high. The smoke and dust engulfed everything, and the figures of the destroyer and the Sky Patrol were submerged in it. The world seemed to stand still at this moment. After about 10 seconds, the two roared away again. Su Ran's destroyer lifted off from the low altitude of the polar region at high speed, and the Sky Watcher was still clinging to Su Ran on the outside of the destroyer. He tried his best to tear it off from midair, but at this moment, the armor plate on the top of the destroyer rose, and the two built-in dual 130mm naval gun turrets slowly rose. Under the control of Xianxi and Wang Guoan, he turned slowly and fired loudly. When he got close, a big gap was blown in one wing of the Sky Watcher, and one leg was blown off on the spot, and he flew out screaming. At this moment, Su Ran's destroyer, under the protection of the shield system, roared across the Sunhua River and hovered over the insect nest in the northern city of Ice City. Around his destroyer, in all directions, a large number of locust swarms flooded in like a tide. The opening at the top of the nest is slowly closing, and from the inside, a strange light pink translucent giant jellyfish-like creature is flying out, slowly flying in the sea of air, slowly facing the destroyer in the sky. The locust swarm was like a black tornado, surrounding the destroyers in the sky. On the ground, a large number of black beetles had returned to the line of defense against the insect nests. Farther away, Sky Patrollers were rushing towards them at high speed. Su Ran dropped 2 cluster bombs in the air. The cluster bombs separated in midair, and the whole line of missiles bombarded one side of the insect nest, instantly detonating a dazzling flash in an instant. The insect nests in this direction were bathed in a sea of angry flames. From bottom to top, there were explosions and flashes soaring into the sky. However, when Su Ran's destroyer flew over the worm's nest, facing the siege from all sides, even though it was a long-distance attack, it was easy to come, but difficult to retreat. He has come this far, and there is no way out. And at the moment when the insect nest was surging in the sky and on the ground, what no one may have noticed was that on the other side of the insect nest, in the street with collapsed buildings that the warship had just swept past, a machine was rushing out of the smoke and dust armored car. The black beetles and migratory locusts along the river were the closest to the insect nests, and they returned to defense immediately. Therefore, this armored vehicle can be said to be unimpeded. Traveling all the way, Yi Qian sat in the armored vehicle, looked up at the besieged destroyer in the sky. His gaze was heavy. Li Shunchang next to him asked, "Company Commander." Su Ran pretended to be suppressed by the Sky Patrollers, and secretly let us down by taking advantage of the smoke and chaos. What exactly is he going to do? Regarding this, Yi Qian only smiled slowly, and said, "Su Ran's destroyer is certainly the key, but our mission is also very important, because it is not Su Ran who is responsible for blowing up the insect nest, but us. Running for hundreds of miles, attracting insect nests, and lowering the altitude are all creating opportunities when we approach the insect nests." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.